like to talk. You want to talk?
You're listening to Black Fawn Distro's Takeover Tuesday, the official podcast of Black Fawn Distribution, broadcasting live across the planet and retransmitted on all major streaming platforms. Tonight's program is brought to you in part by Wellington Brewery's Hellas Lager, Deadly Grounds Coffee, Twisted Teas, and of course Canada's #1 genre film company, Black Fawn Distribution. You wanted the best. Well, they didn't make it, so here's what you get.
It's really not that bad.
You are going to hell.
Here's your host, Henner from Black Fawn Distro.
Hey, Kells,
Hey.
we're back.
Hi,
We're
we're
back
doing
with
it.
another edition of Takeover Tuesday. This is, of course, a Hotstove From Hell edition. But how you doing? It's been.
I am.
We're doing these consistently now. It's amazing.
We're
It's awesome.
trying. We're making an
we're-
honest effort better.
We're trying our very best. It took us like 500 years to put together this show. But
Yeah.
it was fantastic. And it had nothing to do with our guests, just to be clear. Like it had everything
Just
to do with
our
us. And by
organizational
us, I mean
skills.
me, because you're the
Yes, your
organizer.
organizational skills. Yes, yes.
I am the person that just does it off the fly, I think. But I do some organization, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. a
You,
little.
you again, earnest efforts. That's all we're doing here today.
Well, listen, I want to welcome everyone back to the program. Thank you so much for checking us out. We are, of course, broadcasting live to Facebook, Twitch, and YouTube. And we used to broadcast to Twitter, but it's such a pain in the ass now that we can't figure it out. And it's like, honestly, like YouTube's kind of where it's at anyway. So if you are streaming this on your computer at home or maybe on your phone, but that's great. Thank you. We appreciate it. But of course, we are also retransmitting on all the major streaming platforms, including Apple Podcasts and Spotify. So of course, if you don't get to check this out live, you can grab it on wherever you catch your podcast. So of course, please remember to like, follow, share, and subscribe wherever you can. And we appreciate the help.
Twitch,
Oh,
Facebook
Twitch,
as well.
sorry. Twitch
Yeah.
and Facebook. You're right. Yes, of course.
I
But
gotcha.
YouTube is like people love the YouTube.
That's
right now.
the one.
Like I know people love the TikTok, but it's like TikTok is for like younger people. That it's where it's at for younger people, and YouTube is where it's at for like maybe everybody else, right?
Yeah, probably.
Honor the show. Can I continue? So anyway, listen, we appreciate everyone popping back. If this is your first time here, hey, thanks for tuning in. Please remember to subscribe to the channel. It helps promote helps us put together more content, and also helps promote our guests that we have on the show that take time out of their busy schedules to kind of support us and support Black Fawn Distro and support Takeover Tuesday. And of course, specifically tonight, support Takeover Tuesday's Hotstove From Hell. And of course, tonight we are reviewing and having an in-depth discussion on The Substance, which is probably one of the most talked about, would you say controversial movies of the year? You think, Kells?
I would say definitely one of the most talked about, and one of the most buzzworthy films of the year as well. Like between the Oscar buzz, between the reaction to this film, and the fact that it really just kind of came almost out of nowhere, but to everyone's surprise and great delight, I would say. So this has definitely been a buzzworthy film this year. It's definitely been on the tip of everyone's tongue. So of course we thought we have to talk about it because it's fantastic.
Absolutely. And we'll get into this as to why we should just forewarn anyone watching. This will probably be some spoilers in here as we get into it. You might kind of put that together by our names that we have. Of course, Kells tonight has got to pump it up, and I am 4 pounds of shrimp, which we will discuss later on in the program as to the significance of that. But listen, if you like I was mentioning, we've got lots of content going on the channel as well, not just the hot stoves, but we've also got our interview series, our Takeover Tuesday. interview series. We just had Kevin Martin from the last video store on the program. Fantastic interview, which was done live from his store, The Lobby in Edmonton, Alberta, which is super cool. And I have, believe it or not, drum roll, please, I have started my Benner's movie reviews. That's right. I'm Benner. And sometimes I do movie reviews like once a year, apparently. But I'm trying to get back into the swing of things because your show, Streams and Screams, you've been taking out the trash with that show. You've been killing me on that show because like we were supposed to do this as a contest, a little bit of a friendly competition. And you're like leading like 25-7. It's a sad state of affairs over here, but I'm trying. And my review of Nosferatu is online now. Go over the channel, check it out. Let me know if I'm on the right track, or maybe I should just like completely stop altogether.
No, keep doing it.
And
you
Kells,
have to catch up to me. Mine are easy because I don't have to leave the house.
I know. That's the thing. It's travel. It's the travel. It's killing me, man. It's killing me. Anyway, so and you have your next Streams and Screams. You want to give everyone a little bit of a heads up on that?
Yes, in honor of the recently deceased Valentine's Day, I decided to talk about Takashi Miike's Audition because it is an absolute classic, a banger of a film, and really, something we could have discussed on 90s Night because I believe it's a 1999 film, but I feel like that was a little bit more designed for the audience that I have on Streams and Screams, which is like they tend to really like the dark, messed up stuff, and I'm here for that. So I'm happy to provide more of those films, that being one of them, because I feel like it would be a bit of a difficult one for 90s Night, but happy for Streams and Screams.
Okay, well, there you go. Go and that should be live probably. I think next week it's going to drop next week. I think that's kind of where we have it slotted in right now. So make sure you check that out after you check out this discussion on the substance. Of course, quick shout out to our sponsors: Wellington Breweries, Hellas Lager. Thank you for sponsoring us all these years, and Twisted Teas, and as well as Coffin Creek Coffee. Coffin Creek has just recently rebranded from Deadly Grounds Canada, so they are now Coffin Creek Coffee. Yes, I know it says something different in the intro, which I have not gotten to re-record yet, but I will be doing that soon, so we'll have a little bit of a tweaked intro coming up. But listen, if you're in the Oshawa or Durham region, go to the Coffin Creek Coffee Cafe. How's that for alliteration? How much do you love that, Kells? Is that alliteration past the Kells test or what?
That's just my favorite thing. So that really, the Coffin Creek Cafe, put it in a song. It's beautiful.
We'll make sure we put a link down below. So if you're looking to order any coffee, you can do that as well. And you can, listen, if you need some fuel, that's the place to go. That's what keeps us going as well. And we'll have some more news, some kind of an expanded partnership with Coffin Creek coming up. So we'll get to that on maybe an upcoming program and let everyone know what's going on. But other than that, let's get going. Before we begin, though, we just randomly found out recently that we have access to super chats now on YouTube. So
yeah,
which, who knew that people wanted to make quick donations to us and get inside our heads and give us a pats on the back. But it was pretty. We found that out in the last program, and we're not going to lie to you. We're not going to BS you, right? Like we were like, holy crap, that's great.
That's amazing.
We should probably say something about that at the top of the program. So listen, if you are on YouTube, you want to be part of the program, please throw your comments down in the comment section or beside. I don't know where it is now, but we'll try and incorporate you into the show. And of course, if you want to give us a donation, you don't have to, but if you do feel like it, fantastic. We do definitely appreciate it. And it goes towards keeping the channel up and running and also provides us an opportunity to create more content when we can. I will say this, though, if you are going to make a donation, what I recommend is that if you just want to go, yo, here's my donation, we'll put that on the screen. We'll take it. We'll take it. And there'll be a big yo on the end at the bottom of the screen. But what we recommend, if you want to, is if you put together a question and you want to throw it into a donation, what we'll try and do is we'll try and work that into the discussion with our guests and get their take on your question, not just ours. So how's that? How's that for value? The Temu, it's like the Temu podcast. Not sponsored by.
We'd take a sponsorship, but not currently sponsored by Temu. So holding out hope.
Anyway, let's get to it. We got a whole whack of guests. We decided to do a supersized version of Hot Stove because we love all these people, and they said, "Hey, listen, can we come on the program and would you help us out with this discussion on the substance?" And they were like, "Hell yeah!" And so now we've got like 20 people to bring in, but it's a fantastic group of people that we've assembled, and I'm excited to hear everyone's take on this flick, because I really loved it, and I loved how it was shot, and I think it does deserve a lot of it deserves the discussion that's going around it right
Absolutely.
now,
A lot of the
awards
Oscar
and
buzz.
otherwise. So, but Kells, before the last thing we got to do is talk about the creepy cocktail. What do you got going on over there in honor of this?
Creepy Cocktail Land. So in honor, Creepy Cocktail Land, in honor of the substance, I have a drink that may or may not be poison. But this is the Sparkles Spinal Tap, which is a smooth but sour combination of limoncello and lemonade with a chipper dash of cherry bubbly, topped off with a hypnotic, or hypnotique, if you ask me, because I never know how to pronounce it, trip. So this I tried to really nail the color of the substance with this one. I feel like I did a decent job. And
taste test.
I'm not gonna lie, it's delicious. I might have already had one of these today. It's really good. So
Unbelievable.
Just putting that out
While
there.
I was slaving over a laptop,
I
trying
was
to get
drinking
the show
away.
ready.
That is a good question, Kevin. Thank you.
Whoa,
Yeah.
Is this
There
a
we
good
go.
question?
We're gonna
Is
do
it up
confetti
home?
every
Oh,
time.
thanks,
We'll do
Kevin.
confetti every
Appreciate
time.
it. You know what? Doesn't that just make you feel good? Like,
Warm in your heart.
I know. Anyway, without further ado,
Yes.
let's bring in our guests. Let's bring in some
Yes.
people. Let's get the show on the road. We got lots to talk about tonight. And Kells, why don't you kick it off? Who do we got? Who do we got coming in to the hot stove?
Yeah, absolutely. So to start off, she's an actor, writer, and director currently promoting the new horror anthology, The God of Frogs, which is such a badass name for a movie, by the way. She's apparently our new resident Kingslayer, and no relation to Dave. Please welcome back to the program, Ali Chappell. Yay! Where is she? Let's pop her in.
Bringing her in. Yay!
I love you had to throw in no relation to Dave, because the amount of times I got that growing up, because the Chappelle show was like the thing everyone quoted at you. Oh my God, you related? I'm like, yeah.
Listen, we had to do that because last time we had you on the program, like years and years ago, I was like, you never corrected me. Like I thought that was your name for like years, and I was like, dude, you've never corrected me, and you're like, I know, but like, whatever. So I was like, never again.
Yeah.
So anyway, but yeah, thanks for joining, Ali. Happy to have you here. I'm pumped. Of course, you were on the program a while back, so we're happy to have you back and get your thoughts on this cool flick.
So many thoughts. Also, why is it called Hot Stove? Is that similar to like Hot Knives, like what you did when you were a kid and you wanted to get high?
No, but it could be. But no. But yeah, in all honesty. So, yeah, you know what? Hold on a second here. Yeah, okay, so we've got him. We weren't sure if we were going to have one of our guests here tonight, but it was my fault, not his. But listen, he's a Canadian film legend. He actually hates that introduction. But what can you say about a dude who is now part of a new generation of slasher icons? He's currently starring in A Violent Nature and The Hyperborean, with more films on the way. Here's Johnny. It's Ry Barrett popping into the hot stove. Welcome back to the program,
What's up,
Mr.
guys?
Barrett. What's going on?
Hi.
Not much. How's it going? Can you hear me all right?
Yeah,
Absolutely,
totally.
sir.
Okay. My other headphones like just died on me, so I just switched. So I'm just making sure.
Oh well, if you don't have if you don't have cool headphones, you're not allowed to come on the program. Yeah.
The only requisite that we have.
Kells, who else we got over there?
So returning to the program is our favorite spooky mask maker. She's currently crafting a new Evil Dead Ash mask, as well as an actual scary scarecrow, which will hopefully inspire the youth of today to make some more spooky scarecrow movies. Please welcome back to the program, Makeup Billy. Yay!
Oh, hey!
Yay!
Oh, hi!
What's going on?
How you guys doing? I never want to leave. Have you seen this hallway?
Yeah. Vic, you were on the last hot stove. So thanks so much for coming back.
For long legs.
For long legs. If you haven't checked out that episode, it's like one of the favorite episodes I've ever done. Yeah, well, I'm sure there'll be some inside jokes later on in the podcast. But yeah, thanks again for popping on and putting up with us for another couple hours. Appreciate it, of course.
Of course,
Absolutely.
my dudes. I'm stoked.
And last but certainly not least, she is a screenwriter, actor, and professional weirdo. She recently had one of her screenplays make it to the second round of the Austin Film Festival and is currently working on her debut horror movie. She's been dying to get back on the program and dying to get on one of these hot stove discussions. So we thought this was the perfect fit. But please welcome back to the program, Lauren Messervey. Hey, Lauren, what's going on?
Hi. Nothing. How's everyone doing?
Good.
We are fantastic.
Pretty good.
Oh.
Like, this
Very
is the biggest
excited.
hot stove that we've done. Like, I don't even like this is more elements than my actual stove in my kitchen. So that's like crazy,
Nice.
right? I have a five element stove, and this is 6.
It's the super hot stove.
All right.
Super hot.
Yeah.
So hot.
super hot stove.
Look at
Kevin's
that.
out here just like throwing the good compliments.
Yes.
Hey, Kevin. What's
Good
up,
vibes
man?
from
Yeah,
Kevin.
that's why we
Good
put him on the
vibes from
payroll.
Kevin. Love this.
And once again, like, we're gonna get into it, get into the substance. But welcome everyone. One of the cool things we love and why we love doing these. I'm not sure if everyone has met everyone here. I think most people have, but maybe some people haven't. So I'm not sure about that. But it should make for an interesting discussion. Of course, we love all of you, and thanks again for making the time. And of course, if you're tuning in on YouTube, leave a comment and if a donation on a super chat if you'd like on our YouTube
We'll
channel.
throw up
And we'll
confetti.
incorporate you as part of the show, and you can ask all of these fine, awesome people what their take is on your question. But whatever, keep it real, keep it cool, and let's get going. All right, where do we want to start, Kells? I'm going to kick it to you.
I feel
You
like we
love
should
this
start with a
movie.
synopsis of the film.
Oh yeah, because I forgot it, or
Yeah, because you forgot it. So I will say it.
yeah,
In
go
the
ahead. Go ahead.
substance, for those who are not familiar, a fading celebrity takes a black market drug, a cell-replicating substance that temporarily creates a younger, better version of herself. So this is a film starring Demi Moore, Margaret Qualley, Dennis Quaid, and directed by Coralie Fargeat. This is a fantastic film. Obviously, we're all very excited to talk about it, and I really wanted to start with everyone's first reactions to the film and kind of when you first saw it, what you thought, how you felt, why you felt it, all that good stuff.
Who wants
Of
to
course,
go
Kevin
first?
feels like he's got to balance out some stuff with our super positive.
I'll go first.
Sure, yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So first and foremost, the substance inspired me to grow my hair out like crazy long. When I saw Demi Moore, I was like, yeah, this woman is bringing back the long black hair. Exactly. I'm into it. I went in not really knowing what to expect from this movie. I saw the previews and I heard the buzz from the Cannes Film Festival. And then I went with one of my best friends who we typically go to see all the horror movies. And I was just enamored, first and foremost, with the fact that the vast majority of the effects are practical effects, which is something that you don't normally see in filmmaking right now. So that immediately grabbed me right onto the heart. Second, Demi Moore's performance for a woman who's been in the industry and has basically lived the storyline of The Substance in a far more subtle way was just an amazing casting choice. And she was such an incredible performance overall. And I think what I liked the most about it is when you see a horror movie and the messaging is subtle, that's not the case in The Substance. It's it's right in your face,
Understatement of the year.
staring at you. But it doesn't fucking matter because the substance that it is, see what I did there, is so good and so well crafted that it doesn't need to be a really covert metaphor. It can be exactly what it is unapologetically. And I think that's kind of ultimately the glory of The Substance, is it's unapologetic in the beauty that it is.
Absolutely. Good thoughts. Good thoughts. Next.
Ali, what do you think?
Ali, I'm going to toss over.
Yeah, I think they put Ali on the spot, right?
Yeah, let's
Yeah.
the first time I saw it, I loved it. I feel like I'm now realizing that I've been pronouncing Coralie's last name aggressively wrong.
So have I for the longest time. I had to look it up because I was I'm sure I'm doing this wrong. I'm sure I am.
I just keep being
I looked it up
Coralie,
today.
no one else in Hollywood is named that, so you're gonna know who I'm talking about. I don't have to say the last name. But yeah, the first time I watched it, I left the theater being what the fuck was that? It's not by any means a new trope. I don't want to say story because the way they did it is very, very new. But the trope of it is like, yeah, once women honestly get past like 35, they're like useless to everybody. We all know this. There's a whole TV show dedicated to it called Younger. But I loved it. I've always loved Demi Moore. I think her acting is just brilliant. I think it's been long overdue for her to win some awards, like 1,000%. And also the second that I left that theater, I'm like on like Amazon and on different websites being like, where do I find this yellow coat?
Yes.
Yellow
Yes.
coat,
Oh my God.
where do I get it? It is a vibe that I need in my life every day.
I couldn't get over how awesome her speech was at the Golden Globes when she won.
Yeah.
And just the fact that like she had said that she'd never won an award for anything, like any part of her acting, which if you really think of it, like, it's funny, like she's one of those actresses that now that she's sort of, you know, had this career that's already existed, how many roles she's actually done. Like her body of work is fairly comprehensive. And I think it's one of those careers that needed a little bit of a jolt, I think, with a project like this. Because I felt like the film itself, I think was really uncompromising. And Lauren, I think you put it, it is very in your face. It's very, you know, take it at face value. It is, that's the movie. Right. But I do feel like there was a lot of nuances in it as well, which I thought were pretty cool to watch. And of course the practical effects were like mind blowing and shocking and, you know, everything that you kind of want to see in sort of a body horror movie. But I did feel like, uncompromising. I thought Demi Moore was, I don't know. I just think it was like, I can't believe she was in this movie. Like I can, right? Like, but it's one thing to read this film and then go to film it, right? Like I would love to read the script just to see kind of what it looked like on paper. But Vic, your thoughts? You're a huge, massive horror fan. Nice lid, by the way, of course.
Right?
Yeah.
But,
Right? Always represent.
90s night too, which are available for sale at our website.
Dude, it's cozy.
But you watch a ton. You watch a ton of horror movies, and you do your reviews over at on your own YouTube channel. Of course, we'll throw a link down in the comments or below in the metadata there for people to check it out. Please subscribe to Make Up Billy's channel. But like, what were your, like? How does it stack up with all the other movies that you kind of watched, and what were your thoughts on it?
Frig. Like, I went into this one super blind. It was one of those things. I don't even think I remember seeing the trailer, and then actually watching it, I just felt so much anxiety. I don't know if you guys felt the same way, as well as just it felt so raw. Seeing Demi Moore naked in front of a mirror, judging herself up and down, I'm like, this is so real. And then it slaps you in the face like a classic Cronenberg film, right? Like, I love The Fly, and I know exactly what you guys are saying, like when we kind of like relate back to that sort of thing. So like, I absolutely love this film. I think they nailed it.
Awesome.
Absolutely. I feel like with this film, like, it's 2 hours and 21 minutes, but you never really feel that. Like, it just kind of flies right through. And I will say, like, never before have I felt such a range of emotions for a slab of concrete as like the very beginning of this film, when they're showing the star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame and like everything that it goes through and then circles back around to it at the end. I was like, I felt emotions for that star. I was like upset when someone dropped ketchup all over it. I was like, that's terrible. Like, it's a wonderful, wonderful thing that she's able to craft these feelings within you for something that's the first 2 minutes of the film and be a slab of concrete. But it's also like, I feel like a wonderful way to look at addiction and destruction and societal pressure and like the absolute horrors of aging. You know, and I think that it's such a fantastic film for being able to explore these ideas and approach them from a different way. And, you know, for Elizabeth Sparkle, like, she has all the opportunity in the world, but she still goes back to jazzercise. And that's like a whole other conversation, I think, to go back to that is like why that was a whole point of return for her. But I really want to know Ry's thoughts on this film as well. So I'm going to toss it over to Ry.
Well, yeah, like a lot of you guys, I went in really blind with it too. Like I heard about all the buzz at Con and other festivals and everything. And I had seen Coralie's first film, Revenge, before. So I knew it was going to be super stylish and I knew it was going to be cool. But I also just wanted to kind of not know anything going in. So I stayed away. I went and saw it in a theater by myself because I couldn't find it anywhere else. Finally went in there and saw it by myself because no one was around that day, and I just wanted to see it before spoilers and everything. And I was blown away by like so many elements of it. I love satire for one, and when you mix it with a genre that just really works, like it kind of kicks ass that way, like RoboCop or Verhoeven's Starship Troopers. It really just works. But a lot of satire is like grand scheme things, where this is very intimate and really relatable and like topical today. And then on top of that, it's like there's so many references to other films and so many little nods to other things, and obviously the special effects, like the performances. Demi Moore's fucking unreal in it, and like that's the thing, she's so cool because over the years she does this thing where she came back in Ghost and she made this. It's like the most talked about crying scene of all time with the one tear coming out. Then she did G.I. Jane. She shaved her head and got a buff for it. Then she did Striptease. So it's like each like decade she comes out with this new like complete reinvention of herself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it's just like, it's so cool seeing that and everything else that everyone said too. It's like, there's so much to love about the movie.
Yeah. Almost like kind of like Keanu Reeves, right? Like he sort of goes away for a bunch, and then he comes back and reinvents himself in some way.
Mm-hmm.
I
This is
think
for John Wick.
I mean, listen, the fight scenes in this movie, that's not something I thought I would say when I was going in.
I was like the replacements? Like, which one?
We should preface this just again before we get deeper into this conversation, but there are going to be spoilers because, and we're going to try and keep it somewhat spoiler free, and we have been over the first half an hour, but we're getting into this. We're getting into the shit now. So if you haven't seen the movie, I recommend you go into it as blind as possible, especially if you like.
And then come back to this podcast later.
That's right.
That's
right.
Check in later.
See what I did? I wove in the marketing aspect.
You got this.
I will say, like, for me, I think when I looked at film, what was cool for me was like it really had like it's like a bonkers gonzo idea. I love the setup, but it kind of really puts you into this sort of like it's shot amazingly well. And I had to look up who was a cinematographer. It's actually the same cinematographer who did Promising Young Woman, which makes a lot of sense once you know that.
Mm-hmm.
And just that it's got this sheen to it and this sort of like, it doesn't necessarily feel like the real world, but it is the real world. And so once you're kind of operating inside that world, you can kind of get away with, as a filmmaker, you can kind of get away with more like crazier stuff, which I really think drove a lot of the concept home. Like the initial concept of the film is so, crazy, but I love movies like that where you're like, okay, well now I want to know. Like I want to know. I'm totally strapped in. Mm-hmm. I totally want to ride this roller coaster. Like what's going to happen next? And they set it up so well. Like there's always rules. Like I was trying to think of a movie that it was very, very similar to, but in just the setup, where it was kind of like, here are the rules, like kind of like Gremlins, right? Like where you're like, here are the rules. And
don't get it after midnight. Do
not break the rules. But you're like, yeah, but the rules are going to get broken like in 40 minutes. Like I can't wait.
I'm going to talk about Fight Club. Yeah.
And and I just thought like it was such a brilliantly put together, like Barrett, I think you just mentioned satire, like but also with these horrific types of scenarios where very jolting and very like in an abstract but realistic way, and I felt like the people I watched it with, very emotional connection to the film, especially the bathroom scenes. And for me, like I felt like it was really it did a couple things I wasn't really ready for, but at the same time was influenced by like a few things that I was really surprised by too. And I think it just really felt like a complete vision and an uncompromising one at that. And those are the movies I will watch all day long. So.
Yeah. And you mentioned the bathroom scene. And I think one of the things that's the most effective about those scenes is that that's her only safe space but it does not feel like a safe space. Like every time that you're in that bathroom, you know, like something physically traumatic is going on. But this is like her area where like this is the only space she has to sue / Elizabeth. This is kind of her only area. So that's an interesting point that I hadn't really thought too much about with the bathroom scenes. But like now that you mentioned it, the more I think about it, the more like there's so much in there. But I kind of want to ask everybody, you know, the Substance has a hyper focus on the commodification of the female body and the horrors of aging, particularly in the entertainment industry. So do you think this movie could have been made in the 90s or 2000s? And if so, do you think the tone would be different?
Yeah,
That's a very
I'll
loaded question.
Yeah.
I'm gonna start again because I'm just such a keener, and because I am like on the cusp of my 40th birthday, so I'm turning far past my expiry date in 1 month, and I've just come back into the acting world for the first time in something like 14, 15 years. And so one of the things that had stopped me for so long going back into it was this idea that's in the Substance about the commodification and the obsession with youth. And my thoughts were always like, oh, I'm not young anymore. I'm not going to be able to do this game. But seeing Demi Moore on that screen was part of actually what prompted me to go back in, because I was like, well, fuck it. Look how good she looks up there. And she's incredible. And she's like in her prime. You know, fuck that idea of youth being the ultimate grail of power. I'm going to go and I'm going to do this. For that reason, I think that because of the way that society has changed, it is best suited to this era. You could have tried to make it in the thousands, or the early thousands, you could have tried to make it in the 90s with different actors, with different ideas, but it wouldn't have landed the way it does now. And the main reason is because we are so inundated with this message of plastic surgery, of women becoming perfect, of this uncanny valley version of humanity, that we're starting to understand that the uniqueness that made, specifically in this case, women so powerful in the past, or the uniqueness that set us apart, that's being lost. And so when the Substance comes up and it shows that in sort of that metaphorical tone, that helps us understand why we've gotten to this point. And so this kind of shit was still happening in the early 2000s, in the 90s, where people were starting to be like, ooh, I kind of want to look more like this. And could I actually change this? And now we're taking a little bit of a step back and we're making a deeper evaluation of what that means for us as a society, but also what it means for how women are perceived. So could it be made in other eras? 100%. Would it have been as good? Probably not.
Yeah,
I think that, yeah, like,
yeah, go ahead. Sorry. Ali, did you have a...
Yeah, go ahead, Ali.
Yeah, I think that, especially if it was made in like the early 2000s or in the 90s and stuff, it would have been much different, because I don't think it would have been a female director. I think it would have been a male director telling what they view as a female story. And I don't think it would have been, you know, Demi Moore, who's 61. It would have been someone who was like 40, and they would have shoehorned in a love story for some reason. And it would have been more of that male gaze gratuitous nudity versus what I feel Coralie did, which was they're just naked. This is just what it is. It's just a fact.
Yeah.
These are boobs. This is a butt. They're just naked. And it would have had probably someone with like I love Demi Moore's body. I love that she has embraced it, but I feel like it would have been someone who maybe has a tighter butt, maybe looks a little bit better than Demi Moore does in this, even though I think she looks fabulous in it. And yeah, I think mostly I don't think it would have been directed by a female. I think it would have been a lot more massage. I don't think the men would be as the caricatures that they are in this present day version of it. Like, I feel like they would have given Dennis Quaid a lot more to do. And I think that that's why this works, is because they're like, no. He is a character of a douchebag. This is what he is. When he's eating all those shrimp, none of that would have happened.
Go eat your shrimp. Yeah.
The whole scene where
4 pounds of shrimp.
But that whole scene where Demi Moore is just like eating and cooking and looking disheveled, that like would not.
That gave me so much anxiety. Oh man.
Yes. Yeah.
I was just in the theater Like, that was the one part of the movie out of everything that made me pull my coat over my head because I just like couldn't handle it.
I was so here for it because I was like, yeah, eat all that food. I don't care if you like, how often do beautiful
The finger
women
licking and
shove stuff in their faces all the time.
And then he walks up and puts his arm around a guy without even wiping his hands. or
Oh,
anything.
yeah.
Ugh.
Like, all of these
the old grease wipe.
we've all done it.
If I had a nickel for
I always just walk up to you and be like, love you, and just wiping my hand across their back.
So I was going to save this for later, but my name is 4 Pound Shrimp tonight. 4 pounds of shrimp because apparently Dennis Quaid ate approximately 4 pounds of shrimp in the filming of that scene, which is
That's a lot of shrimp.
which I was like, that's a lot of shrimp.
That's
man.
commitment. That's commitment for a role.
Yeah. I mean, I think a lot of it, like, sorry, just that food scene reminded me of this too. Is just like the preposterousness of the setup and a lot of the things in the movie are on the surface preposterous, but once you kind of buy in, you're like, yeah, but it's like this is what I'm getting into. You kind of like you allow it all to happen, right? And so, like, again, like the bathroom, like nobody has a bathroom like that, I don't think, right? Like, I mean, I've never seen one like that.
Yeah,
so,
rich people
and you're
probably
like,
have them.
and I think when in the first scene when you see that, I was like, look at this bathroom. Like, I think I said something
Not
like
the
that.
whole apartment that she has that's like stunning and beautiful and huge.
Yeah, like, well, like not like
You were
not,
like,
in a,
"The
not,
fucking
not in a shitty way, not in a shitty way, but I was just like
Unrealistic.
Like, this bath.
Anyone can have this apartment, but that
Man,
bathroom,
I'd kill for a bathroom like that. But like,
tub and a shower, what?
but I just yeah. So, but I was like, but then that all like the food scenes as well, right? It's like she's like, I'm just gonna cook everything and eat everything, and it's like, but it's like more food than you could possibly even imagine, like in one scene. But I thought that was prevalent throughout the entire movie,
It's got that
especially up to the climax of the film and the third act, where it's so kind of crazy that it really hammers home, like you were saying, Lauren, like it's like hammers home like that point of like, no, this is this movie. Like, this is the movie that you signed up for.
This is what you're strapped in for. Yeah.
Yeah. Even if you didn't know what you were going into, it's like, once you're there, you're there. And like, there is literally no escaping it. You can't look away because the sounds are there. You can't like kind of pretend you're not looking because something will be like on the screen and will be revolting. And if you walk out of the theater, you can hear the people in the theater screaming. So it's an unescapable glory.
Yeah.
In the fact too that like subversion of the audience, where like I thought like the scene with the finger, I thought was really brilliant. Great makeup, like amazing, but it was so like it's like, and I noticed like how she filmed it was like the finger is always in frame, like it's always there to remind you and stuff. And then I was just like, I'm like, no, like that's when you would stop. Like you wouldn't do any more than that. And then she's putting on the gloves when she's going on that date. But then you're like, oh no, like this is gonna get worse and worse. And yeah, I don't know.
Like, the whole film is kind of built that way too, right? Like at the very beginning of the film, it's all gloss, it's veneer, it's glossy, it's sexy, it's like a car commercial. And then it slowly starts fading into, oh no, this is the reality, and then this is the grotesque that comes with all of that kind of thing. And it you watch the movie gradually change from that, and it does it so well, and it just keeps you along with it.
Absolutely. I feel like if this was made in the 90s or 2000s, first off, a reminder that the 2000s brought us like Eurotrip and White Chicks and Freddie Got Fingered, and like that was the comedies of the time. And I feel like they would not have been able to handle this film with the maturity that's required to get it. Done.
Freddie Got Fingered is a classic.
Yeah, I don't know why you're ripping on. I don't know why you're ripping on Freddie Got Fingered. But.
I'm not ripping on. I'm saying it's a fact.
Masterpiece.
That is a film. That's a film that, like, again, not a bad film, but very different from The Substance. Absolutely very different from The Substance.
What?
So I feel like this is a film
comparing those two movies. You're like, this movie isn't Freddie Got Fingered.
It's not that.
Thinking it's that.
Is that your pairing, Kells?
It's not White Chicks. It's not American Pie. Like, it's different from those. No, but I feel like, as Ali was saying, like, it would have been handled by a male director. It would have been handled a lot less delicately and a lot less realistically as well. So I feel like having this film done now, when it's made, following all of the movements and the awareness and everything that we've been kind of flying through over the past 5 to 10 years, this was the time for this film to be made. This was the cast and the crew for this film to be made. And I feel like that's kind of one of the things that makes it so special, is that it's very much of its time, but it's also a very classic concept as well. It's very picture of Dorian Gray. It's very like David Cronenberg's The Fly. Like it's not a new concept, but it's told in such an interesting way that I think makes it really, really special. But Makeup Billy, let's hear your thoughts. On the spot.
Yeah.
Wandering.
I honestly think that if it was made in the 80s, it would probably still be pretty decent. I do think so. Just not just effects wise, but again, like maybe Cronenberg would have been the one who directed it. But like if we're talking bodies, it would have been so different. Kind of like you were saying. And like even thinking like 90s, 2000s, like that would have been massive boobies on screen, butt. But what's interesting is she takes this person who's into fitness and you're like, they're sticking with this sort of strong body vibe, which is interesting, right? Considering back then that wasn't, the 80s maybe. The 80s maybe they were kind of into that. Who was it? Farrah Fawcett?
Death Spa.
Hell yeah. Oh, Jane Fonda. Jane Fonda. There you go. Right?
Oh,
like
who's
that
making a comeback with her workout tapes?
No, is she?
I just saw an influencer post like getting a press box for it, and it's like an actual. They sent her like a TV with a VHS tape. They sent her a VHS, and it's Jane Fonda now being like, "Here's my new VR workout," and I'm like, "Shut the front door."
I need that.
Jane Fonda,
perfect time for this.
Jane Fonda is immortal. Like I don't even know how old she is, but it's crazy. Like
she's beautiful and brilliant.
Jane Fonda took the substance.
That's it.
Let's just be honest with ourselves.
She is the substance.
She does. And one of the comparisons I wanted to make with that scene where Demi Moore is like going on the date and she's wiping off her makeup and doing it again and wiping it off. It gave me that vibe of, did any of you guys watch that Grace and Frankie show that Jane Fonda did? Yeah. Cool. I didn't either. But the whole scene, I watched that one particular scene where she's like, Jane Fonda's standing for Peter Gallagher and she's just like, this is the real me. And she's taking off of her makeup and her eyeshadow and her eyelashes and all this stuff and just being like, I'm not a young woman anymore. This is who I am. Is this who you still love? I'm like,
damn.
Demi Moore pushed from that a little bit.
Like just for the benefit of our audience, Jane Fonda is 87.
And she's really?
Which is like insane. Like it's like there's like there's like dudes that are having troubles getting to their 80s.
Yeah, that is a guilt.
She works out and she supports people.
That's hot.
Yeah. Well, hey.
Appreciate that.
I think one of the things like obviously when I looked at the film, like influence wise, like obviously saw some clear shout outs to like Stanley Kubrick
and, generally
like John Carpenter, like The Thing, obviously, The Fly, obviously. But I also felt like I was reminded a little bit of American Psycho. And I feel like, Kells, because you did tell me, you mentioned this question when we were putting together the program, and I was like, I wonder what Mary Harron would have done with it in like the late 90s, early 2000s, because when we did our review on that movie on American Psycho, like we were very much like, it's such a brilliant film. It stood the test of time.
Ahead of its time. And Mary Harron didn't really do much after that, which is, I think, criminal. But this film, I feel like, has a bit of that vibe to it. Like American Psycho, it takes place in the 80s, but it is somewhat kind of timeless. Satire. Like you never really know what decade it's fluctuating in. Timeless satire.
But past that, I feel like Vic, what you were saying, like I think it would be directed by a guy in the 80s, maybe Terry Gilliam. Like I feel like Terry Gilliam
back when he was good.
Yeah, when he was like not like so weird.
Yeah.
Like Brazil days, like maybe right before 12 Monkeys, like around there. Like I feel like he might have been able to do something cool with it. But having said that, I do feel like this movie will have some of that like longevity to it.
It's timeless. It's a timeless concept. Even think about a weird way to relate this, but football players. Think about you
Yeah.
have such a short career because your body can only handle so much, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Any athlete.
Acting, modeling. There's so many things where like this is like a scary part of it where like they throw it in your face, but it's like, I mean, you know, it doesn't have to be that way, right?
Yeah.
And then we need the people who defy it. Yeah, we need the people who
Absolutely.
defy those things. So like we got Demi in this movie, and in the like, for example, like I'm a huge football fan. I can't help myself, but like we had Tom Brady who completely defied everything, whether you like it or not. He played at a time when it is considered ungodly for football players to be there. So the reason why we have like these people who come up and they show us that like age, although it does take a toll on the body, it is still to some degree not the end of you as a person, as long as you respect the balance, which is where the substance really comes in. Is it's like, if they did respect the balance, would you have had kind of the perfect career on both sides?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's the substance too, is them being like, let's find two people who can respect the balance.
Yeah.
Are they actually doing a second?
No.
Probably not.
But like that's
This is like a one and done thing. I don't think you can improve on greatness, you know?
Like American Psycho 2?
Hey, but I'm like, that wasn't supposed to be an American Psycho movie. It was a whole other thing that they tacked on.
And they
American
just like
Psycho.
tack it in.
Shout out. Shout out.
American Mary. I've seen it.
No,
Shout out William
American
Shatner.
Psycho with Mila Kunis and William Shatner. And it's good, and I will die on that hill.
It's not. Yeah, it's
a movie.
I could see William Shatner playing. Yeah,
it is one of the movies of all time.
Yeah,
William Shatner's also like 190 years old too. So I mean, maybe he is using this.
Rope Toad's like, no, guys.
It's true. We're just gonna, and that's the second part of our show. We're just gonna look up famous people and figure out how old they are. And figure out, guess whether or not.
All the time.
Guess,
especially after the SNL 50. I'm like, how old is Bill Murray?
Yeah.
William Shatner's 93.
No.
That's crazy.
Oh,
wow.
Is he's still alive?
Yeah.
Still making masks of him
Captain
for Michael
Kirk,
Myers.
Of course, he's still alive.
Right.
So
his face is for sure changed.
Bill Murray's 74. So Bill Murray probably not using the substances.
Chris also doesn't like it.
It is very
yeah, this guy. Yeah.
Ali, people are devoted to proving you wrong at this moment.
I gotta see it now.
I think like the one thing I wanted to add to it is actually before I forget was the only thing I felt that made this movie function a little bit better, making it like now in current society, at least for me, right? Like I know that there's a whole other part of this movie, but I thought like the outline of this movie, or just the things that were kind of happening on the peripheral, I think were like, I loved how everything came in sort of like a cardboard box. Like it's like that, it's just like an Amazon delivery, I guess. Like you can order anything you want online.
So simple.
I loved, and the one thing too was like, I think that for me, like that kind of put it into perspective. Like whenever you order a bunch of Amazon stuff sometimes and it shows up and then you're just like, how much, like, what's my carbon footprint? Like, I don't even know. Like, but it's not zero. Like, it's not, it's not net zero. I'll tell you that much. And
thanks, past me.
Like, maybe if I just recycle it, I'll feel better about all these purchases. Right. But I felt like the one thing, I have to watch the movie again, and maybe someone else can tell me this, but when she goes to the lockbox and she opens for the refill, and there's a whole bunch of boxes at the start. Do those boxes get smaller? Like there's the number of boxes get smaller over time? Because I think the second time she goes back, there's like less of them, but I could be wrong on that.
Well, I think
so. I felt like
when you rebuy anything, when you buy a pack of razors, you get the razor handle and then all the razors. Then when you rebuy stuff, you're just getting the razors.
See, I didn't take it
or
like that.
If there's people that are subscribed to it, and then those people are kind of dropping off the subscription package as we go along. Is that kind of what you mean by it? Like the people are either dropping off or they're like not surviving through it because they're either bailing out early or whatever the circumstance may be. Is that kind of what you mean by that?
Maybe I'm answering that wrong.
I thought it was that people did not respect the balance and therefore they didn't have as many subscriptions because there wasn't as many customers.
I don't know about you guys. I would have just never have been able to do the first thing. There were so many instructions to that. Did you guys?
Yes, and
How
there's
did you-
there wasn't even instructions. They
little
just like
things,
sent the
right?
things. You'd be like, "Here's step 1, step 2, step 3."
Yeah.
I'm like, "But what do I do with step 1? Like, how
There's
do I
two
know to
needles.
stick that into my spine?"
There's needles. Like,
Yeah.
And is there
Do
a
I fill
reading
these
list?
like this things one at a time? Do I have to do all 7 at once? Like, how do I do? I 100%. I would have been way too confused to
Yeah,
do
I
this.
was like,
I would
it's
have.
not
The
a,
box
it's not a
would have come
Lego
in and
model.
it's
The
too
initial
much.
one would probably work out, but
It's
the
too
second
much.
one where there's nothing, you're just like, so I stick this in her spine and then I pull
Yeah.
stuff out.
yeah, it
Like
was
that
like worse
seems
than
like you need to
IKEA.
do some pictographs.
Exactly.
So going along with that idea of people dropping off or people that are not respecting the balance of the boundaries, I kind of want to discuss this idea. Is Elizabeth Sparkle's relationship with a substance kind of turns her into an addict for youth and admiration. Could there possibly be a way to use the substance and not get addicted? And do you think this is part of its design, that they know that you're not going to be able to respect the balance and they kind of feed or thrive off of that?
Yeah,
That's
no,
my
there's no
question.
way to not be addicted to it.
Yes.
There's
Yeah.
the way that they promote it, the way that it is shown, and the way that it is kind of like slipped under the rug to her. There's no fucking way that and another interesting story, although I am totally anti-substance too, would be the company that created this and how they've specifically gotten people hooked onto this specific concept
At no
of themselves.
charge, too. At
Yeah.
no charge.
At no charge.
Yeah, that's
And
the part that always got me.
yeah, and for me, like as I was watching it, like I am the kind of person that I would never do this under any circumstances because just the idea of another me is too much. I don't want that. But the whole
Well, I mean, you might be able.
thing-
You might be on the show more often.
Roll at
Like,
us.
I
want
know,
it to love me, but I want to be able to
I'm not.
Never wanted to wear your own skin?
That's
No?
it.
No, you know what? No, I already feel inhuman enough. I don't need more. But like, I think that like one of the key metaphors, and like I got a lot of the plastic surgery out of it personally, is I think that what appeals most to somebody who has an addiction to that youth is the idea of being immortal and being
Mhm.
truly immortal. Like ultimately, I think that's the reason why everybody deep down wants to be someone special, because it's the way that they combat death. How do you beat death? You make sure everyone remembers you forever. And
Mhm.
the substance feeds off of the idea that the only way you can achieve that immortality is if you take this and if you are a better version of yourself, a more memorable version of yourself. Yeah, they would. You couldn't respect. No one would respect the balance. Balance doesn't exist.
And the value that like because it says that it like it doesn't come at a cost, but I like under the like between the lines, I think it's being supplied by all the people who are profiting off of everybody who's taking it and being younger and doing these things and being manipulated and exploited basically. So it is one of those things where like you wouldn't, if you're in that position, like it separates the egos. There's a super ego and an id, and basically the younger version is the id who's just going to do whatever the fuck they want because they no longer need this ego. But then the super ego's like, wait, we got some rules we got to follow here and we should be doing that. But then it's too late. You've already separated everything and they're doing what they want. It's like a classic like Jekyll and Hyde kind of thing.
That's also a crazy
Absolutely.
concept that you just brought up. The fact that like it could be all the massive production companies that are behind it all.
Yeah.
Yeah,
All those
in a way.
executives that are there, like in the TV studio, like being like, "Oh, smile for everyone," and her teeth are falling out. Like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's that VIP structure behind it that's like again profiting off of. That's an interesting point. I hadn't thought of that. I like that.
I do know like the scene where she's like filling up all the jars, and she's like, no, I'm taking over. Like when Sue is like, no, I'm not going back. I can last out for and you're just like, one, Vic, I thought of you because I bet you I would almost bet like $1,000 that you said, oh no, like when but I like you already know about the finger and the leg, and then you're like, oh, don't do this, like, and then when she wakes up eventually and she just screams like in the darkness, and you're like, you haven't even seen her
Yeah.
Like you haven't even seen Elizabeth come out yet, and then she does, and you're just like, oh my god, like this is, and because it's irreversible, right? And I think it's just that I got the sense that it was sort of like being able to, because I do, Kells, I think you're right. I think it does pour into like addiction as well, and maybe not so much addiction. Like I think that's part of it for sure, but just the people pushing the envelope a little bit, right? Like people say, I'll be fine, it'll be fine, it'll be fine, it'll be fine, and like not taking the warning shot seriously. I think that has to do a lot with addiction, but also I think like just general mental health issues. I think
overconfidence too, just like I will be fine. Yeah,
addicted to
just
work.
power through it. Like you'll be fine. And I think I don't think
Burnout.
that's necessarily the main message of the movie, of course, but I just think it's like a little bit of a thing where it adds to to sort of the overall creation of the monster at the end, right? Like it's, I don't know. I love movies that are like that test the audience like this, that and like could you rationalize doing it? Could you rationalize taking an extra day? Could you be okay with that and then eventually killing your other part of yourself in order to kind of sustain this other level?
A weird hand over it, like I don't know, it's a whole thing.
Like, I think that's the thing. It's like it's the hand. Like when they started, it's a hand. Like if it's something you can't see,
Yeah, if it's on my back, who cares?
This is my kneecap. I'll just throw a pair of jeans. It's no big deal, right? But like it's something you always. It's so interactive with the world around you. But I don't know. I did think about like it's one of the, again. It's like kind of going back to that bathroom thing where you're like, well, I wouldn't do this, but then one, you wouldn't have a movie. But secondly, it's just like you've already bought into everything already. You've already bought into like how she activates and how she switches and how she feeds herself. Like you've already bought into this whole thing, and you're fine with it. Like you've bought into the rules of the world, and so therefore everything else that comes after is a natural progression of where you think the characters would go through, right? So
it is also kind of interesting that you mentioned mental health as well, because this could also, like, if you take a step back, it does kind of reflect on, like, say, bipolar disorder, where you have like these two very distinct sides of yourselves. And if you think that you're doing really, really well with one, so you don't need to take the medication, just keep going, and like go through this manic state over and over and over and over and over until you have this big crash at the end. And it just really comes back to bite you, and you turn to this big monster and everyone's terrified of you. And like, there's really a lot of parallels that can be drawn to mental health as well as addiction, as well as, again, like that idea of like flying too close to the sun and thinking like, it's not going to be me, like I'll be fine, like I know I'm not supposed to do this, but like I'll be fine, is kind of that whole vibe that persists through this whole film. So I think it's a really interesting way to kind of, there's a lot you can pull out of it, I think, which adds to the flavor and adds to the effectiveness of this film as a whole. I think.
I just want to give a quick shout out, just because I'll forget otherwise, but just the stuff that is preposterous to the film, but that works, is that big shout out to like the neighbor guy who is like her neighbor.
Yes.
like because
just saw your show.
I'm not saying like it's just like because we're all in the business, right? Basically, and it's like I know that like Barrett, you know this, like it's like that role is like a big role. Like he's got multiple lines, multiple scenes. He probably shot it in an afternoon, but I'm like, that guy is gonna get remembered for that role forever, just because he was like he's in one of the biggest movies of the year, right? So I don't know. I thought it was
he
pretty
kills
funny.
his scenes. He like crushes it every time. He's so funny and so like just endearing in a really dorky kind of way. I think.
I just want to know what what was the like? How many people auditioned for that? Like, how did they?
How did they narrow it down to that one guy?
But also what was interesting is like, as a woman and as women, we all have met that guy. He's knocked on all of our doors at one point or another. And we've had this really awkward moment where you're like, God, I would do anything for this moment to end. And just seeing it on screen, it was a very similar feeling I had to watching, as you mentioned before, Benner Promising Young Woman, because it was like, oh, I've met this dude and this dude and this dude and this dude and this dude. And that's another reason why I think it had to be made by a woman at this time, is because that feeling of just existential exhaustion from a conversation with some dude who just really wants to get into your pants is a feeling that can only be truly recreated on screen by a woman.
Absolutely.
It's funny too, because I
Yes.
one of the things I always say is like, obviously there's a lot of, there's a part of the internet, right? And a part of our culture that says, I don't know if I like that because this person directed it, or I don't know if this movie should be made or whatever. And I've always come back to like, this movie to me felt similar to when I watched like a Jordan Peele movie, where it's like, I've seen a bunch of movies through the male lens. I relate to those movies because I have a male lens, right? Like it has some sort of component to me because it's closer to me. However, I do like watching and specifically like a white male lens, right? Like, and listen, I don't care about that. Like that's some of the greatest movies being made by white male directors, right? But having said that, I always come back to this, and this reinforced it for me as well. I like watching movies, especially horror movies, through a different lens than that, because one, I don't quite know what's going to happen, and it's told from such a different perspective that I'm not necessarily, I don't quite fully understand it in the way that I would another movie. And so I felt like this movie, especially, I think Kells, correct me if I'm wrong, but whoever said this, but was like the male characters are kind of throwaways, right? They're kind of like, yeah, they're here, and then out of the way. The real movie is about the protagonist and antagonist, which just so happened to be the same person. And I felt like that was the most interesting watch, because the violence in the movie and the shock value in the movie is essentially created by, one woman against another in particular scenes, which I felt was, again, something you don't necessarily see a lot of, especially in, I don't want to say this is a mainstream movie, but it is I think it is now, right? Like
Oscar nominations.
Oscar nominated. It's not an artsy type of film. It's like, people will be referencing this movie forever. But I just felt like it was interesting to watch. And also I got some laughs out of me too. The one at the end when, sorry, Kells, correct me. What's the monster's name? It's
Monstro. It's
Eliza
Sue.
Eliza Sue Monstro.
Yeah.
When she's trying to put on the earrings and stuff, and then she doesn't know what to do, so she just cuts out the picture and she puts on her. I laughed so hard at that, and I was like, I know I'm probably like, I am supposed to be laughing at that, but maybe not really, because it's got it's got more emotional heft than that. But just the fact that like she shows up to the thing and all the studio execs and like have no idea, like they're just like, just smile, and like, and they're just like, they're like, they don't care, they don't even realize it until like the blood starts going. And like, I just felt that was really funny, because I also feel like that ties back into something like we were just talking about when the movie was like, could the movie be made in a different decade? I think it's something about like, that still speaks to me, at least, about the vapidness of like corporate culture. And like,
and the awareness of that vapidness as well.
And yes, things being disposable on the one side and treated like just like, they're one use, they can be discarded, of course. But the other part of it is just that the people that are making the money are too stupid to realize what's going on, and have no idea what they've either created or what they're destroying. And I don't know, I love to see that come back in movies. Like, I feel like that has been missing for a little while, and I think it's coming back full tilt, right? So
yeah, I think so go ahead.
I was gonna say, how do we feel about her being called Sue? Her hot body is just Sue. Did you guys feel like that was a strong name? How do you guys feel about that?
I expected like at least 2 syllables. I don't know. Like,
I like it because it did the thing that it made her mouth a Sue. Like, it made a Sue. Which I always find that like when men direct stuff, they love a girl who's like, Sue. So
that's a valid point. And just, and then there's the scene where it's just like the 12 different TV screens and they're all just like Sue, hyper close up. That's a valid point.
Yeah.
I was just too distracted by how hot Margaret Qualley was. Right? And then I would like take a couple of minutes and be like, she's married to Jack Antonoff. And then I would like go on that tangent for a little bit. And then I'd come back and be like, oh man, look at her body. Jack Antonoff.
But also, they put fake prosthetics on her.
Prosthetics, yeah.
Yes. Because even she wasn't perfect enough, right? And
She's
that's
like,
really
"Hi, have you
interesting.
seen her?"
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I
Well,
didn't know that
was
until after
was
the
to
movie.
match. That's to match the bodies, I think, wasn't it? To match Demi and her.
Okay.
I think I assumed it was that, but
I
I mean,
think
even
it's that,
still,
and also
like,
to
it's-
fill out that leotard thing she wears, like the
Yeah,
pink
probably.
one.
Yeah. Chicken
I
I want
cutlet.
that
the
This is
leotard.
an excuse for me to frame my boobs and be like,
Oh.
"Yeah, you know this thing."
This guy.
This guy right here.
Yeah.
This
I
guy.
have a question.
Who's that? Who's that guy?
That guy.
Yeah.
That's her dude.
That's her husband,
I
man.
don't know how I feel about that.
He's got a hot brain.
He's got so much brains.
Hot brains.
So much.
Hey, man, he's got a really good.
He's got a hot brain.
He's got a great
I have a
personality. All right.
question.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yes, Lauren.
I gotta
Yeah.
ask everybody this because this was something that I thought. Okay, so obviously there's a sexualization component to when you see Margaret Qualley, and to some degree with Demi Moore at the beginning too. What for you is the difference in the portrayal of the sexualization of women when a man directs a film and when a woman directs a film?
That's a great question. I feel like if I can jump in on that, I feel like there's something almost satirical about it
Yeah.
when a woman directs it, that like you can tell like it's so overly emphasized and like lens flare, like it's so over the top and so exaggerated that like to me that's what I took away from it. Like I remember hearing somewhere that there was someone, I feel like maybe on Letterboxd, it was complaining that it was like a very misogynistic film. It's like, well, not really, because when you look at it, like
No.
it's clearly told from the female perspective, and the female perspective understands what the male gaze is. And to me, it's making fun of the male gaze for the whole film. Because also, again, when she has those bathroom scenes where she is in her safe space, it's not sexualized. It's not the same that we would have seen if this was made in the 90s or 2000s. This is like, it's a very like, this is her space, this is where she is, versus when she's on set. And even the first scene of Elizabeth's, I forget the name of her show, but that versus Pump It Up with Sue, the presentation is like almost like maternal in Elizabeth's scenes of like doing the jazzercise versus like Sue's, which is like very overtly sexualized. So for me, I feel like if it was done by a male, it has like that same veneer, but without the self-awareness, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it reminded me, like the presentation reminded me of the opposite of what Euphoria is. So I vividly remember watching the first episode of Euphoria, and within about 20 minutes, I was like, this was written by a middle-aged man.
Oh yeah,
for sure. Because of the way that the young women were very specifically sexualized. I was like, this is a fucking man thinking about what these teenage girls would be doing.
Yep.
And you look at even like, what's Coralie Fargeat? Is that the pronunciation? Did I just ruin
Fargeat,
everything?
I think I've pronounced it
Fargeat.
Coralie Fargeat in my head forever, but apparently it's Coralie Fargeat. So I'm still trying to wrap my brain around that. But yeah,
So I'm just gonna call her Coralie if she ever hears this. Sorry, we're friends now.
we apologize.
But even when you watch Revenge, which is her first film,
absolutely,
there is, of course, this woman is barely dressed for the entire film, and there is nothing sexy about it. Absolutely nothing sexy. It is not sexy. It is what would happen in this situation. It is the difference between that and, like, for example, like Megan Fox in any movie where men have sexualized her. And like you said, there's like that satirical element to it. But you can just like, there's just sort of like a feeling underneath it that it's like, as a woman, that you feel seen.
yes.
That I personally don't feel as much had that lens be done with a woman, like, or with a man, like in Euphoria.
Yeah, it's like a little
It's
tip of the
funny-
hat. It's like an homage under the score of it. Yeah, right.
And
Sorry.
it's funny you mentioned Megan Fox because I immediately compare to what they're making fun of is Michael Bay, his fucking
Yeah.
portrayals of shit, because it's so just it's just the veneer. Like I think the way that you guys are describing it, and the way that I think it is too, is that and this is, it varies from person to person and everything, but like in this film, it feels like a 360 version of satire in your face because it's on purpose and because it's there. Whereas like a lot of the times, if it's a guy shooting something to be sexy, like in a Transformers movie or something, Transformers.
Yeah, I mean, I've haven't watched any of those Transformers movies.
But like it feels like a 180 view as opposed to a 360 view of what is the reality sort of thing.
Absolutely.
It's like it gives you this like, you know, a sheet of paper to look at as opposed to like a sphere sort of thing. And it's I feel like it's like that a lot of the times across the board when something is really aiming to be sexy when it's not actually. And then other directors really, like male or female or anything, some people know how to handle it just so much better. But with this, I feel like they're distinctly putting that in your, like Coralie's putting it in your face and saying, this is how you fuck up by shooting something.
Yeah, I think like the Michael, even like, I mean, I thought of the Michael Bay stuff for sure. In a way that like, because even some of the Michael Bay stuff is like, it's like, I mean, you just laugh at it because you're just like, it's so over the top. It's so car commercial, right? Like it's so like it is very, and I think that's like I think that there's certain directors that I think would have really captured the spirit of this movie or close to it. Like it would have been different, right? But I mean, I think David Fincher could have done something really interesting with it, but I don't know if he could have. I don't know if any male directors could have gotten the performance that they needed from the two actresses. Like I really do feel like, and again, part of it's just like, you know, you've been on film sets and you've you know been around how these movies are put together sometimes, and it's like I felt like the start of when Sue shows up for the first time, there's a lot of nudity in that bathroom, but it doesn't feel sexual, right? Mm-hmm. Even Margaret Qualley naked with fake boobs or not fake boobs, like, you know, it was like, okay, yeah, but it never felt like it was the same as the over the top fitness show, which was interesting.
Biological,
because right, because you would think that, like, I feel like if a man had written the movie, maybe they would have flipped that. Right. And you get this sort of intimate look at the bathroom, which is like again, and to, as well, like not to, there's the scenes where they flop on top of each other. Like I was like, gee, in order to film this, like to commit to this is like phenomenal. Like it's really, like I said, I keep coming back to like uncompromising vision of like, no, we're going to shoot it this way. And this is what has to happen. Like you could have done a lot of cheats. You could have done a lot of cuts. You could have done whatever you wanted, but it really seemed like everybody was committed to making this film what it was supposed to be and what it needed to be. And I think that I don't care who you are. I don't care, you know, who makes a film, but it's like, if everyone's in on that and they deliver what was set out originally to be achieved, then, you know, full props. Like it's a phenomenal piece of filmmaking if you can get that far. Right.
Mm-hmm. Sorry, I just have to interrupt for 1 second because I do have to hop off in a moment, but I wanted to make one more point about this and just about the body thing. It felt biological. Like she felt like a science experiment, where I feel like a science experiment most days of my life when I go into spaces where I don't feel as safe with the male gaze. Like when you go into the gym and like say a Good Life, which is basically a bar without alcohol, as a woman and as a woman who might be considered conventionally attractive, you feel like you've been created solely for the purpose of these people to stare at you, regardless of what you're wearing. That is a universal woman's experience, I feel. And those bathroom scenes when you're seeing these women and they're naked and they're in these vulnerable positions, that emulates that total feeling of just, I have been created for something that is not for me. And like that keeps going throughout the movie, and it goes to wild places, a wild, glorious conclusion, which is the best thing ever made. It's just, it's not going to win Best Picture this year because fucking Adrian Brody's nose just got out of control and he did some fucking movie about architecture, and everyone's gonna vote that one. But
Brutal.
I think that
So I couldn't.
Sorry,
It was right there. It was right there.
I actually love Adrian Brody, but it's just like when I saw this movie, The Brutalist, I was like, oh God, nothing needs to be 3.5 hours. But I think that in a perfect world, The Substance would win because it's one of those horror movies that is a rare insight into not just like the political climates of the world, but the social climates, the emotional climates, and how everything has kind of come to this huge conclusion of change without actually doing the change on the surface yet.
Mm-hmm.
And wish it could, but unfortunately, I'm going to settle for Demi Moore accepting her Oscar, and I'll shed some tears. But with that, I should probably go.
Lauren,
Sorry.
thanks so much for joining. Always great to see you, and love the fact
Cheers,
that
Lauren.
you came on for this.
Love
Please
you.
come back. Please come back.
Thank
We'd
you.
love to.
Yes.
What we'd like to do with these hot
100%.
stoves is we'd like to try and do them somewhat frequently, maybe once a month, every 5-6 weeks, depending. I know me and Kells are still fighting on that one, but we'd love to have.
We're not fighting. We're organizing on that one.
We're not fighting. We're organizing, but
Anytime.
our goal, we were talking about this the other day. We'd love to have like a kind of like a revolving panel of guests where we're just like, hey, we're hot stoving this movie tonight or
This
next
week,
week.
this
Whoever wants
day,
to
this
jump
night.
on. We'd love
Call
to have
me
you back.
anytime. You got my information. Call me anytime. It was such a pleasure to see you all. Much love. Barrett, I didn't even get to say hi to you. Hey man, how you doing?
How's it going?
Good to see you, bud.
How you doing?
In any event, I couldn't be better if I tried. In any event, thank you so much, everyone. I hope you have the best night, and we'll chat soon.
Awesome, Lauren. Anything you want to pump, any promote, and
Oh yeah, me. Sorry.
before you go?
Yeah, so I'm working on a horror novel that I've been essentially trying to work on for 1,000 years called Mantis. And like getting back into the acting scene, but I'm also trying to get this little film that I wrote off the ground. So please stay tuned. There will be more that will be happening in the very near future. And you can follow my Instagram that is going across the screen every once in a while.
I'll throw it up on the bottom of the screen. Yes. And please, everyone out there, Lauren, thank you again so much.
Thank you, Lauren.
Jump off if you need to. All good. We'll let you go.
Thanks, dudes. Pleasure.
Take care.
So
Alrighty.
I do want to kind of
5. But
and then there was 5.
I
I was going
will-
to say,
I
I
was
do
just-
want to jump into go better.
Oh,
go.
sorry. No. I was
Move
just
on.
going to say
Yeah.
before I forget, for everyone tuning in, thanks again for sticking around. We're going to keep going
you.
for sure. But please follow Lauren Messervey. Her Instagram is just at the bottom there. She's
Scrolling
got
around there
lots of cool
somewhere.
stuff coming up, and also as well, all of our other guests, Ali Chappell, of course, Makeup Billy, Ry Barrett. Their Instagrams are going across the bottom of the screen right now. Pull out your phone. I know you're watching this on it anyway, or you're watching on your laptop or computer. Punch in their Instagrams, follow them, give them a follow. They got lots of cool stuff, and that's the least. Hey, that's the least you can do for all this free content discussion that we're throwing out there. Anyway, Kells, over to you.
I was going to say, speaking of the ending, I know we've kind of danced around it a little bit and mentioned it and referenced it, but let's talk about the ending of this film for a hot minute, because I do have to admit, I'm so glad I saw this film in theaters, and I 100% was laughing for probably the whole last 20 minutes. The hardest I've laughed at anything in all of 2024. Like nothing tickled my rib cage just quite as much of the entirety of the ending of this film.
Wait. Is it because you went to see it in 4DX or?
Stop it.
No, but that would have been
Just like
amazing.
Does the boob hit an option?
Just
You get tapped.
just blood spray just all over.
Running
I would-
joke.
Nothing
have
happens
been
in the first
amazing.
2 hours, but that last 20 minutes is
It's
just
just like
nonstop.
chaos. Yeah, that would have been the perfect way to see this movie. No, but I did just see it in a normal theater banner. But hardest I've laughed in a movie in the past 5 years, without a doubt. And also the most delighted I've been in a theater in the last 5 years, without a doubt. So I kind of wanted to get everyone's thoughts on the end of this film. Is it over the top, just the right breed of chaos? What are your thoughts on this? Proceed.
Honestly, if it
Barrett,
didn't
go.
have that ending, I don't think people will be still talking about it, but that ending really just kind of solidifies everything. It's like it cauterizes the ending and it just fucking like explodes. And it's like same like when I saw it in theater, I think I was the only person there. There might have been like two. It was like a matinee show. Might have been two other people there, and I was actually like air drumming when the metal started, and it's cutting from all the blood and everyone getting splattered, and just like I was just like, this is fucking insane. This is amazing.
Yeah.
And you just at the beginning of the film, like you just don't expect it to get to that level, but you do once you're halfway through, you kind of gradually seeing it going there, and then if it didn't, I think we would have been disappointed.
I think a lot of that has to do with the runtime. And, you know, on 90s Night, whenever me and Kells do 90s Night, we always talk about runtime of movies in the 90s and how like it was like the 120 minutes.
It's a sweet spot.
It's like Terminator 2. Like this is what I always say. Terminator 2 is like the greatest action movie ever made, an absolute sci-fi action epic, and it's 2 hours and 15 minutes. If your movie is longer than that, you better fucking earn it. Like, because there's no reason for any movie to be now. Okay, you're making Godfather 2, you're making Heat. Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Scarface.
Lord of the Rings Part 3. Sure. Absolutely. Because you got to earn that runtime. This movie, I think, did. I didn't once think like, oh, this could be cut or this needed to be shortened down. I thought it was the right length for all those scenes.
Yeah.
And I did think, Barrett, just going back to what you said, at the start of the movie where they show it's like the two eggs or the two
egg yolks.
The two egg yolks.
Egg injection. Yeah.
And then they take they show the Play-Doh kind of thing where they show the two and then they smash them together. You actually forget about that. And it's like the right amount of time passes where you're like, oh, right. Like you're so pulled into like the fact that they're not switching that you forget that the other thing was don't only activate once. And so when it gets to that point, you're just like, because it really like that movie feels. I was trying to think of a movie that it's like this is a bad example, but a kind of like I had already when I saw it, I had already known like part of the ending, which I hadn't seen yet, right? So like the theater scene. So I knew that was coming. I hadn't seen it, so it ruined it a little bit for me. But had I gone in blind, I think I would have maybe compared this to like Wolf of Wall Street. Where you're like, oh, this movie's just winding down and stuff, and it's like, oh no, it's got a whole other act. like here we go. Like and I felt like it was like right amount of time where you forgot about that other rule that she is obviously going to break. But yeah, like I thought it was really well-paced movie. And that's I think it's one of the most important things you have to do in any film you make. And movies are too long today. But if you can kind of find that right pacing, then it's like, then I feel like it makes for a really, really enjoyable experience.
I feel like, go ahead, Billy. Yeah.
I was going to say, did any of you think that the ending and like her just being this beautiful, beautiful monster, did any of you feel like it was more symbolic and what we were seeing was just kind of like not what they were saying?
What do you mean?
I feel like the whole ending of this, like with the transformation, I get what you're saying. At first it was like, oh, maybe like they're actually seeing something normal because the way that they're responding to her and everything. But then the more I thought, I was like, oh no, that's 100% in her head of how she wants to be perceived. Because I feel like the ending of this film is the only way that the substance could feasibly end. Because like she can't just get away with it. She can't like slink off to die in a corner. Like she would be torn down spectacularly. This was the best and possibly only way for this film to end, was this giant blaze of glory that stems from them just willing and wanting and hoping and praying to have this extension of disbelief for the longest time up until the last possible moment. And they're like, oh, no. And
my great rating.
Oh,
yeah.
How come I can't do that?
Because Kells has all the production value.
I have all the production value here. There we go. Yeah, I have production value.
It's true. Like the other, another film that I really compared this to, and going back and like thinking about something that it's probably closest to in the past, other than like maybe Stepford Wives too, would be, and something that's not genre though, other than like maybe noir, is Sunset Boulevard. There's so many similar things. The ending, it's her big moment like on stage, and it's like everything about her admiring her younger self and all the terrible things that happened leading up to that all culminate for just a moment in front of people, sort of thing. And it's like, I don't know, I just love that. And I love that. It's got to be an inspiration for this movie too. Because like even that opening scene with the star, there's that opening shot in Sunset Boulevard where it's literally a picture of Sunset Boulevard and there's trash all underneath the sign and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And it's,
I mean, I did get the like at the end. So one of the things that I like when Sue kicks Elizabeth, like, and she flies like halfway across the room in the apartment. I'm gonna admit I laughed really hard at that because I was
so
like,
hard.
It was so crazy.
She's been doing jazzercise. She's got the leg strength.
So strong.
And it was just like it was such a it was like that over the top violence that I do like that in action movies as well. But also it was such a brutal like takedown afterwards. When she's just kicking her and like it's so violent and so visceral. And reminded me like I felt like that scene reminded me a lot of True Romance as well, like the motel scene in True Romance. Believe that sort of visceral sort of and again starting in the bathroom with the smashing the face into the mirror, which I thought was like, oh god, like that's like it's like one of those things where it's like it hits one last time, then you really need it to, but you do really need that extra hit just to sort of like drive that point home to make it really hard to watch. But I also felt like once that passes and she reactivates basically and she goes to the theater, the part where like the boob pops out, like I laughed so hard at that because I like Barrett, I mean, or anybody, like shit, we should ask Lauren this before, she's a big football fan, but it's like, did that not remind you of like the Janet Jackson thing where it was
oh my
god, she showed a boob on national TV. Good god, man. Like oh my goodness, so many people are just absolutely mentally destroyed and like after that and like
she ruined families.
and
parents had so much to answer for.
And I thought the subtitles at the end too were when she's
really
like was translating was really funny because I didn't expect them, but I can't tell you why they were funny. I just thought like it was just like it almost felt like this televised, like the whole thing about it felt like this televised monstrosity and disaster. That's just kind of how I took it. But I was like, there was parts at the end where I was like, I don't know why this is so funny because I am emotionally invested in this, but it's tragic as well.
It works so well because it's you feel for that creature in a way that you didn't kind of feel for Sue because she was doing these things on purpose for the wrong reasons. But then she is a part of that, but then so is Elizabeth. So it's like a culmination of all these things, and then you just feel sad for it because it doesn't know what to do on stage after it's there. And it's like, where does it go from here? Like it's like
this is my face.
Yeah.
I'm going to throw a question up that came in from the audience. So I want you guys to think about this for a hot minute while we continue discussion. So for me to kind of address this question, and we can circle back if we have any further thoughts, but a similar movie that we would compare it to, for me, I think it's sort of like The Fly from a female perspective, because The Fly is, I am a god. And I think The Substance is, I am their god. And I feel like that's kind of how the films have that sort of differential, but also similarity, is that, again, it's about like the ego versus the id and the super ego and what it is to be obsessed with what you are to other people versus what it is to be like, I have this power. But that's just my thoughts.
Jeff Goldblum's so hot too.
Oh my god, so hot. Just like Margaret Qualley, just like right up there.
Also, we gotta give Margaret Qualley props because that full prosthetic that she wore at the end, like,
she's amazing,
gorgeous,
skin for like
so good.
And then
really,
she immediately went into filming The Kinds of Kindness. And like her skin, you can see how bad it is, and like it works in that movie, but like
shit.
And they were like 9-hour prosthetics jobs. Like those are that means you're in the chair 5 hours before anyone else shows up on set, and then you're in that for the entire day.
Yeah,
and they did that
like
with
living in it.
of them.
It's
Yeah.
fucking
with the
brutal.
dress as well, like trying to shuffle around in that big monstrosity of
I
a
just
dress.
want a yogurt.
Well, like props to her for doing that and being a good sport, even though like her skin for so long was like it took her like a year to get her skin
God.
back to
I
normal
heard that. Yeah.
afterwards.
Yeah.
It's like
Uncompromising.
Jonathan Rhys Davis when he was Gimli and his skin was like red like a lobster. That's my own little.
And they're and,
I've
like,
watched too
and
much.
even just like
theater.
outside, like the
Just
prosthetics is
a
one
Gimli?
thing that's
Sorry, Barrett.
Yeah.
Hold on a second. What before?
Yeah.
Wait, you just working a Gimli reference?
Yeah, listen,
Oh,
I watched
alright.
the Lord of the
Alright.
Rings DVD with the director's commentary and the actor's commentary maybe multiple times. So I happen to know a little bit about Jonathan Rhys Davies as Gimli and his makeup effects. That's all I'm going to say.
Barrett, shoot. Go.
it can be, I was gonna say like it can be painful. Like the prosthetics that's one thing, but then like just everything that they both did in that film is fantastic.
Yeah.
And, like being nude in front of a camera is one thing. Some people are way more comfortable with it than others, but like I'm a 40-something male actor, and like I'm not comfortable with it at all. And I've done it a few times, and it's like it's makes you think crazy shit and like look in the mirror a different way. And like when you watch it on film, it's a different thing. So like for them to both do it and to just do it like so brave and just completely commit and to like, and there's so much of it that it's like, and it's such a visceral part of the story. Like just for both of them, they're both amazing in it.
Yeah, I think
Absolutely.
it's I know like Lauren was mentioning this too. Like I feel like had I watched this if I was in my 20s or even my early 30s, I feel like I would have had a different perspective on it. Like I don't know if it would have computed. I remember like Lauren just mentioned like before she jumped off that like, you know, the 40th birthday and stuff. Like I had a horrible time at 30. When I turned 30, I thought my life was over. And I was like, oh my God. And then I was like, when I turned 40, I was fine. Because it was just like when I was 40, I started getting a little bit more gray, and I understood I could do whatever I wanted. Not whatever I wanted, but I could be like I'm
Most
never getting
things you
carded.
wanted.
I'm never getting a carded again. Like I'm never like no one's gonna stop me and be like, hey, what are you up to? I'll be like, I'm just standing here, man. I'm going about my day.
just
So I was pumped on
existing.
that. But when it got me was when I started realizing that I was like, every single player in Major League Baseball is younger than me. Like that's when it started. like Tom Brady in football, he played till he was 45. So I'm not quite there yet, but I'm close. And it's like when you're younger, you're just like, oh, that's still a man, right? He's still like 40 and he's still playing baseball. But now you're just like, all these people are younger than me. Like I feel it like connected with this movie. Although like I'm not the audience for it past like a horror fan, but I just felt like I connected a little bit more with the overall thing of like, yeah, we're all getting older and we're all going to die. And you're going to have to get used to that and cheating those years and cheating, you know, whatever you're like, just cheating in general. Like it's like, is sort of like, or cheating death and cheating age and that sort of stuff, I think resonated with me a little bit more than maybe it would have if I was younger, but yeah, I mean, Barrett, you know this. Like, it's like I think it's just like you're mentioning, like being exposed like that, not just in the room where you are when you're filming, but the fact that like it's going out there to a lot more people is must be somewhat unnerving.
It takes guts. Like for them to fully commit to that and to just fucking do it. And it doesn't. You don't see a hint of reservation with them because it's like in that moment. It's just yeah. It takes guts.
I think also going back to like the conversation of this film versus if it was in the 90s or 2000s, I think the fact that they're able to do that scene without any reservation, knowing that it's not going to be sexualized, I think is a huge thing. Because I think if this film was made, 20, 30 years ago, if they're doing any kind of nude scene, like you look at any kind of media from that era and it's the body shaming is intense, so supreme. Jessica Simpson being like 20 pounds overweight was like a headline for like
after
weeks,
she had a
which is
baby.
ridiculous. After she had a baby,
Yeah.
it was a headline, which is absurd. So I feel like them being able to do that nudity with confidence and knowledge that like this is for the art, this is for the work, and it's something that like again, this scene is not sexualized. This is not us like
Definitely.
preening in front of a mirror. This is us just being our most biological selves. I think is another reason why this film had to be made now, because again, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, 40 years ago, it would have been a very different reaction.
It did feel like clinical at the start, like you were
Yes.
like you were in a hospital or like a doctor's
Which I think the
office or something.
bathroom design
Yeah.
sort of leans to that as well. Is that like it's that very clinical, it's like pure white tile. There's no personality in that bathroom. There's no warmth. There's no softness. It's
There's no
purely
artwork
clinical.
on the walls. There's no
Exactly.
color.
It's purely clinical, and I think that really adds to
Cold
it.
and sparse kind of Kubrick cues.
Yeah.
I did like the
stuff,
I did like the boyfriend though, like when she goes into the bathroom and she closes the door and she like roars and stuff like that, and he just grabs his shit and leaves. I thought that was pretty fun. Like,
I also love the fact that they don't shy away from it, because they're showing literally the Gollum's, like the version of her completely aged. It shows like close up of her ass, cuts to the other side of the door, and it's a close up of his hairy ass right there too.
Yeah,
I love that they just did that. I'm like, good.
Love it.
Good.
Beautiful.
I don't think,
Dichotomy.
I mean, getting into and just like we should quickly touch on that too, because Coralie
Fargeat.
sorry, thank you.
Yeah.
So the backstory on this is that she was in line after Revenge. She was in line to direct Black Widow for Marvel, and she turned it down because she couldn't get final cut, because Marvel doesn't give anyone final cut, obviously. So she said she wouldn't do it, even though it was guaranteed to be a box office hit and stuff. She wanted to work on her own thing. Final cut for her is a big thing. It's the thing that she, and I don't think this is like, again, talking about like men and women in whomever, like in the film industry, like when it comes to the artistic vision, I don't think that's not something that's like unique, right? Like I feel like directors want final cut. They want to cut their film in a way.
Want final cut.
Yeah.
And I don't think a lot of directors, I think, are fine with not having it because of, you know, the pedigree of the films that they're working on, or
And
just
the scale,
the longevity. Like, I get it that you go in and you're like, okay, I'm going to direct this movie and then I'll go and direct something else afterwards. But
I feel like it depends on how close you are to that project.
Yes.
Like if I'm just hired to
Exactly.
do a Lifetime movie and direct it, and they're like, do you want to edit? I'll be like, zero call. But if this is like my passion project,
Your baby,
I can't be there at every step of the way, then it's like,
so
almost don't want to do it.
So Universal wanted her to do a bunch of cuts to this movie, and they pulled the distribution rights to this because she wouldn't make them. And I'm not sure what the cuts were. I think Kells, did you mention that one of them was the shrimp? Like how many close-ups of the shrimp do you need to show and roast? And
the ending was a big part of that too. They wanted to change the entire ending.
Yeah. And so they pulled it, and then they came back on afterwards. But that's how Mubi was a producing partner, I think, on it. But they actually acquired the rights, and they've done just gangbuster box office numbers on this, which is fantastic for them. What a great investment and home run for them, obviously going into award season, which, you know, obviously unexpected as well. But I think that's just because of how the Oscars kind of shape up and what they consider to be, you know, award-winning films and what aren't. But yeah, I felt like, you know, I did feel like they, like that's an interesting part of this, because I feel like not only is horror getting recognized, I think the idea that you need that sort of vision, you need that final cut, you need that sort of influence on the film to make, like, to elevate horror. And I don't want to say like elevated horror. I'm just going to say elevating horror from where a lot of people, the mainstream audiences see it, to where it could be for certain projects. I think it's really exciting, because I don't think in any other year, I mean, in the 90s, this would never get nominated for Best Picture. That's for sure.
No.
But let's talk about the Oscars. You guys want to talk about the Oscars a bit?
Yeah, always.
Everyone's like, I guess.
I definitely know all of the nominations. Yep.
Who's Oscar?
All right. Are we all in agreement that we don't think it's going to win Best Picture, but that Demi is going to win Best Actress?
I want it to. I don't know that it will, but I would like it to.
When's the last year a horror movie won?
I think Nora might win over this. Even though I haven't seen it.
I haven't seen it.
I want to, just so we're all clear. I want to see it.
I've heard it's fantastic.
Make it available and make it free. Like, put it on a streaming.
Put it somewhere I don't have to leave my house to watch it.
Yeah.
That'd be great. Thanks, guys.
But I also
go ahead.
As much as I want Demi more to win an Oscar because I feel like it's her time and she is deserving and she's had this lifelong career. I feel like it's kind of in that if she it feels like a consolation Oscar almost. Like you put in all this work, you're a good human being, you've done amazing roles in the past. Yeah, you've done some not great ones, but like you deserve this, and that's why we're giving it to you. Like sort of when they eventually gave Leonardo DiCaprio
The
his
Revenant.
Oscar,
Yeah.
they were like, listen, man, it's time. And even
He
with
keeps
Brendan
showing
Fraser,
up.
yeah, and even with Brendan Fraser with The Whale, like that was a great movie, but like I don't know if he was the best of that year, even though I think he's the best every year.
Period.
Period.
It's
like it feels like
I'm
they're
conflicted
giving,
on these things. Yeah.
yeah, it feels like they're giving really great people who do great performances an award because they felt like it's time and not
It's like a
because it's the best.
I think I'm okay with that though. Like
That's
if as long as the award is like for instance, like, you know, I think there's movies that there's movies that people should have won awards for, but they didn't, and then
Oh,
they do get an
1000%.
Oscar for that. But the movie might not be their best work, but it's definitely up there. I think that's okay. Like DiCaprio won for Revenant, but he really should have won for Wolf of Wall Street, right?
Mhm.
Like
He should
that's
have won for
my
like three
perception.
things before The Revenant for sure. The Bear should have won The Revenant. Like that should have been what the Oscar was for.
yeah.
The
Yeah, it should
Bear?
have gone to the
The
bear.
Bear.
Oh.
No, I mean
Yeah.
like
The
the
TV
bear
show?
animal.
The CG bear.
The CG bear in The Revenant should have got the Oscar.
That bear really showed up.
Yes,
and
Chef.
He like
did the
showed up
work.
every
That's how I
day.
was
Yeah.
He like really committed to being a
thinking about
bear.
it.
really shook
Yeah.
things up.
Yeah, literally.
I think
Grabbed it in his jaws and shook things up.
but it's crazy too. Like there's some like I agree with you, Ali, for sure, because I do sometimes feel like just give it to them when they actually should have got it for the role they should have had it for, right? But
Mhm.
there are movies like for instance, like I never like Heat, I know second reference of Heat during this podcast,
Oh,
but like
wow.
How dare
Did you
but-
just watch it?
but I know I'm trying to get through Heat
So
2, the
good.
book, before they make it, and
Yeah,
maybe
Heat
it's
too.
on my
It's
brain.
getting hot in here.
But
I was gonna say, is it called Heat 2? It's still
Soundtrack
hot.
by Nelly. Yeah. But Heat was not nominated for a
Heat
single
getting hotter.
Oscar. Like not a single one, not even like cinematography, nothing.
Oof.
And even this year, like Denis Villeneuve, like for Dune 2, not nominated. So a part of me is just like not even nominated. So I kind of feel like sometimes when the Academy stretches and does something like this to kind of maybe acknowledge or reward a career, I think I'm okay with it, especially if the movie that the person is getting awarded for is
Deserving.
something a little bit out of the box.
And I think
Substantial,
that
yeah.
Demi Moore deserves to get awards and accolations because I've always loved her. I think she's always
Mhm.
really talented, and she gets overlooked because she, has taken on some not
She's
great
so
roles, and she's
pretty.
won a bunch
Yeah.
of Razzies, so she's won awards.
But I think that's the thing with her with this role is that like the fact that she's been cleaning house at every other award show has been like it's always a good indicator of who's going to get the Oscars. But secondly, not only is it like it's her time, but like if not now, then when? Like when in her career would have been a better time for her to win the Oscar than for this role? Because this role shows so much depth and so much so much of it
Commitment,
is just like her
even.
raw commitment, like just her just on the floor on the film, just like bearing her soul and I feel like again, like if not now, then when? So I get what you're saying, Ali. I feel like it's a combination of the two of like it's their time, but if this isn't their time, when else could we possibly? Because this is the one where they really bore it all on the line, where they
It's
really
like we
went
can go
above and
back and have
beyond.
give her an Oscar for Ghost or anything.
Exactly. Like we can't do that. We don't have a time machine yet, so we can at least do this because she really showed up for this role. She absolutely showed up, and she like gave it her everything, both clothed and unclothed. And I feel like she really deserves all the accolades because of like I think also what this film speaks to, and what this character speaks to her personally, as well as just like to every woman in the human experience, to like her in particular and her journey through this this character of Elizabeth Sparkle, like as it pertains to Demi Moore, if that makes sense.
Yeah, she's never been nominated for an Academy Award until this year.
Yeah,
Ever.
it's definitely a tragedy because she should have been multiple times.
She was nominated for Golden Globes for If These Walls Could Talk and Ghost.
And how good was If These Walls Could Talk?
Okay.
But But yeah, I mean, I feel like, yeah, I mean, the Academy, I don't think gets it right. I think they have more wins than losses, but they're definitely not batting 1,000,
They
right?
don't
Like, I feel, I mean, I think, but recently, I think, like,
It's politics.
It's all
everything
politics
everywhere,
and, like,
everything everywhere all at once. I think they got right. Like, I thought, like,
Yeah.
which was a kind of a batshit crazy movie too, right? That I think in normal years would get nominated or get the win even. So, so I feel like there's like those things that just kind of like they don't like there's an opportunity to do. I don't want to say there's an opportunity to do the right thing.
Yeah, do it.
But I think just acknowledge the fact that like this has been something that
Do it,
can
Oscars. Do the
connect.
right thing.
Do the right thing, man. Do the right thing.
Do it.
Man up.
Do it, man. Just do it. Just
Pump it up.
yeah. At least the only thing I hope is that, like, especially for this, like, I hope she wins, because there is part of me that feels like this might be like Michael Keaton and Birdman all over again, where it's like Michael Keaton's going to win finally for something great, and then he didn't. And did you ever see that scene where like Michael Keaton, they announce the winner, and I can't remember who it is, and he puts his speech back in his pocket, and you just sit there and you're just like, oh my god, you just want to go and give that guy a hug.
I mean, I always want to give Michael Keaton a hug.
Yeah, well, he's Batman, man. I mean,
And also, I have no idea who's nominated at all this year. I have not been following it. I haven't seen any of, except for The Brutalist. I haven't seen any of the Oscar nom movies.
so I was gonna go see The Brutalist, like, because I haven't seen a movie
you
in
have
a while.
4 hours?
Yeah, well, I just wanted to go and sit and watch a movie for 4 hours and eat popcorn. Like, I mean,
wanted
I felt
to have
like
a
it
I
was-
like that it had an intermission.
Snacks.
yeah, I want to bring back. more
I'm here for the
intermission.
snacks.
Here for snacks, I'm here for an intermission. Like, I'm like,
It's a great looking film. It looks beautiful.
What's it
Yeah,
about?
I'm
It
good with
sounds
that.
brutal.
It's about a Hungarian,
How
like
Brutalist
he's like a guy, and
Yeah,
he
it's
comes
about
over and he's
Brutalist.
like he builds buildings and stuff.
yeah, he does stuff.
And that's about
Then
Was
he
that
yells
on the
at
black of the
people.
Blu-ray, Benner? It's about a
That's-
guy. He comes over and he builds buildings and stuff
That's
on the
right,
back of
yeah,
the
that's
Blu-ray.
right.
Platform, you know, and Adrian Brody's there.
and there's like
Yeah,
bad
exactly.
people in it, and then he has to. deal
Adrian
with
Brody's
them,
always the
and
guy.
it's just-
Yeah, Adrian Brody's
it's the
always
whole
the guy
thing.
that wins, or he pops up in a movie when I'm least expecting it. Like
upset.
when he was on
Yeah.
Succession, I was just like, "What? Why are you here? Like, what are you doing here?" Like, just
Who
get an
invited
offer.
you?
I love Adrian. It's like when he showed up in Peaky Blinders. It was just like, really? Like,
Or when you showed up in Poker Face and you're like, all right,
What are you doing here?
you're just not
I love that
busy
dude.
this
though.
day.
He's a good guy. He could be a great like Batman
Yeah.
villain. Too,
No,
if
I
you-
like him.
Mhm.
He's
But I
But
don't
it's
know.
all we love him, but it's still always like, what are you doing here? Every time, regardless.
Okay, so
how
back
I
to the
feel
task
like
at hand.
Didn't he make that movie with Vince from ShamWow? He did.
Yeah,
He did. Inappropriate, I think it's called, and it's like one of the worst parodies you've ever seen. Have you seen it?
No,
That's
I need
amazing.
to.
Frantically
Did-
pulling up my
I don't have enough
IMDb.
time to
yeah.
watch the good
Also,
movies, let
isn't
alone
the
the bad
Sham
ones.
Wow guy like a murderer?
Something like it. It's not.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah,
right?
You'd
He
be
does
surprised
some
Why
shit.
the guy, the Sham Wow
Just
guy, is
it
not a good
happens.
dude?
Oh my god.
Which is crazy, right?
Dude, you'll
Okay.
never be able to
He
watch down your
sold us
car
on
ever
the
again.
dream.
Sham Wow guy.
Oh, I
Well,
didn't know
listen,
he was
I-
this
actually,
actor
we-
too. Holy moly.
Do we think though? Yeah. So I mean, I hope she wins, because I think the
Mhm.
speech itself will be great. But
Yeah,
um,
she's deserving, and I hope she does. And then I
Yeah.
hope people
Yeah.
see her more now, and they're like, let's put Demi Moore in so much more stuff. Like, I think she's on a TV show right now. I want to say it's called Landmark.
Yeah, she's in Landman.
Landman,
Mm-hmm.
which I've heard
See,
is
I don't
excellent.
watch
by the way.
anything apparently.
Yeah, pretty good.
I gotta watch.
Yeah,
Listen,
good.
I love Tyler Sheridan, but I haven't watched Yellowstone because I didn't start watching Yellowstone. So then everyone was like, "You haven't seen Yellowstone?" in like season 3,
Yup.
and I was like, I feel like I'm too
Bruh.
far behind now.
You're too far behind now.
It's on Netflix though, so I gotta get on it.
Inappropriate comedy from 2013. Holy cannoli.
Does it look
What-
great?
what's that?
It looks great. Is it the next movie we talk about?
Inappropriate comedy starring a number of people that is slowly loading, including Lindsay Lohan, Rob Schneider, Michelle Rodriguez,
Rob
Adrian
Schneider
Brody.
as Rob Schneider. Yes.
Rob Schneider as a
That's
carrot.
right.
I can't
You're-
wait.
Wow.
Oh, man.
Okay.
You're in for a treat with that one. That's
What's it
Oh,
called?
Theo
it's going on
Von.
the list.
In app, and app is all capitals. Appropriate comedy.
Yeah.
I'm
That's
guessing
a mouthful.
Yeah.
it's
There's a lot of
very
inflections that you're
internet
saying it wrong.
forward.
Nah,
Wow.
I don't know. I don't know if that's for me.
What do you mean?
Yeah, what isn't for you?
I got too much stuff to
Listen.
watch.
Listen, Benner, you gotta open up your taste buds.
Yeah, like quit watching current stuff. Go back.
Yeah, go way back. Way back
Dude,
to
I go
2013.
way back.
watch
Okay,
those
I go way back. I go way back.
The character names in this movie are upsetting and confusing. Anyways, I'm going to close IMDb for a minute.
No, we're gonna go down a rabbit hole.
Listen,
Getting down a rabbit hole.
I will say that the only movie that like this is another we need to do a show on this for sure. But like Vic, have me and you talked about Tiptoes? Have we ever talked about that movie?
Tiptoes.
Okay, it's like a real movie.
Is that
It's
the one with Peter Dinklage?
Yeah, and Gary Oldman.
And
it's,
yeah, and Gary Oldman. Yeah,
I for a while
okay.
didn't believe that movie was real. And
The
then
trailer looks fake.
It
The
is actually a
trailer
real
looks
movie.
fake,
So that'll be my
yeah.
treat. I'll send that to you as a parting gift for coming on the show. But like
Okay.
I feel like we should all watch that movie and do
Well, send it
I
to
gotta
us
watch
too.
this.
a hot stove.
Gary
fan.
Oldman,
It's not-
Peter Dinklage, Matthew McConaughey as
Yeah,
well,
and-
by the
and
way,
Kate
and Kate
Beckinsale.
Beckinsale.
What year? What year?
What year?
Patricia Arquette. It's 2002.
It's like you watch it,
And
you're like,
it
how
is-
did this movie ever get made?
With all the sensitivity of a film from 2002 can offer.
Wait, it's all coming back to me, Benner. You spoke about this at some point.
Yeah. I couldn't believe it was a movie that was made. And apparently they were just on McConaughey was just on a podcast and they like ripped into it and he was just like, dude, he's like, I don't know what to tell you. Like I went and shot that movie and it was
I got
like
paid, yeah.
it was fine. Like we all got along, we all had a great time on set. Like we just thought we were making a movie and like he's like
Lo and
"No, let's let it
behold,
down."
we were making
It's
Tiptoes.
a bit of a horror movie in its own right. So maybe that fits our criteria, Kells, and we can get it on the program.
I really
Maybe.
wonder
I need
how
to see it.
Demi Moore got like approached for this, right? Because like Coralie's really not that big, is she? Like
No,
Revenge is a great film,
Demi
but
Moore has talked about it where she's like, I kept getting sent, my agent kept showing me all of these scripts that were playing, older women, moms, grandmoms. Like she was getting that role constantly. And she was like, none of these are feeding me creatively the way I want to be fed. And then when that script came along, she was like,
holy shit.
yes.
Well, with the script, apparently, Demi Moore said that reading the script reminded her of the script for Ghost, and that the chance that it could be amazing or a disaster were equally the same. And that was so crucial for her to want to do this role. She wasn't Coralie's first pick, but during a meeting in Paris, Demi Moore gave Fargeat a copy of her 2019 memoir, which then convinced Coralie Fargeat to cast her due to its depiction of her relationship to her body during the early and peak years of her film career.
Whoa.
Okay,
Okay,
but
but wait.
first pick.
Yeah.
That is a great question that I don't have an answer to. But
No, I
do you
read that
better?
somewhere. Like she did feel like because Coralie was actually she was like just like a helper on a film starring Demi Moore years and years ago, and I think she had her in mind, but was sort of like the idea was like, there's no way in hell she's going to do this.
Yeah, like there's
Oh,
just no
like
way
she's
she's going to
too
sign
big,
on for
she's
this.
too-
Like
okay.
she's too big, she's too busy, she's too Demi Moore.
It's still Demi,
and then-
yeah,
You
it's
gotta
still
shoot
Demi
your
Moore,
shot,
right?
though.
Like, what's that?
You got to shoot your shot. If you're like,
Yeah.
you know what, I'm just going to send her my script and she says, no, that's cool. Just, I
You
got to
gotta
do it.
I
shoot
think
for
it's
the
more. I
moon,
think it's
even
more of a
if you
question
miss,
of like
you'll land
someone
among the
like
stars.
yeah. I think it's more of a question of like she is still a big movie star.
Absolutely.
And the fact that you might not even get to her, it gets through her agent and stuff. Like she might not have ever seen it. Like it's a body horror movie. Like if you read it, sure.
You're like,
But
there's
on
no way
its
she's going to
surface,
do
it's like,
this.
what's this movie about? Explain this movie in like one sentence.
Give me the elevator pitch. Yeah.
The log line is like it's a body horror movie. It's like a female version of The Thing or The Fly or whatever.
yeah.
And it's like,
to
I don't think that's
9-hour
me, right?
fucking makeup days. She's like, oh, fuck, I didn't plan this. Okay.
But she had said that I'm trying to find it here. I think I read it on Wikipedia. Just a quick point too. Ray Liotta was supposed to play Dennis Quaid's character Harvey. They did shoot some of it with Ray Liotta, and then he passed away, so they had to recast him with Dennis Quaid. But that is actually why he's thanked in the
The
credits.
thank
as well.
you notes, the director's notes. Yeah.
Which is nice.
Ray Liotta.
Love Ray Liotta.
I'm trying to find. Demi Moore was not her first choice for the role.
I
And
Plot
so
twist. I was the
Fargeat
first
thought,
choice.
so I'm just quoting Wikipedia here, so take it with a grain of salt. But Fargeat thought Demi would be a good fit, but believed that she would, quote, never do the film and be willing to destroy her image. With nothing to lose, they sent the script in anyway.
Good.
Beautiful.
Yeah, so I don't think Demi Moore starred in Passion of the Mind, and Fargeat had previously worked as a trainee assistant director. And she handled most tasks like making copies and bringing Demi Moore coffee in the morning, I guess, which was kind of crazy. So,
Yeah.
and
then also, as we learned, Dennis Quaid dated Margaret Qualley's mother, Angie McDowell. Yeah, in the 2000s, in the early 2000s. So she knew him from being her mom's ex-boyfriend before taking on this role.
Ooh, small world, small world.
I mean,
family affair.
Small world for Hollywood nepos.
Right.
Yeah. So I realize we're getting closer to the 2 hour mark.
It's usually our
Should we
cutoff.
wrap up final thoughts?
Sure, we can do that.
We lost Ry.
He shall return momentarily. So while we're putting together our final thoughts on the film, let's have a quick little think about to bring it back around. Do we think this will win Best Picture at the Oscars? Do we hope it'll win Best Picture at the Oscars? Do we think Demi will win Best Picture?
Yeah, well, Demi win
Best Actress. Can Demi win Best Picture? That would be wonderful. Just to give it to
all
her.
The awards.
Yeah,
she is the Best Picture this year.
Yeah.
It's 7 nominations? 5, 7?
I think it has 5. But I don't think it's gonna win. I think it's like a little too far out there for the general voting.
So I think
makeup or anything.
Academy. No, well, let's look that up. We should have had.
What is it nominated for? Because if it's makeup, yeah, I could see this winning Best Makeup for sure.
1,000%.
For sure.
Yeah.
I was gonna say I will take bets right now. I will buy you all tequila shots come Niagara, Frightmare in the Falls. I feel like this could win Best Picture. I feel like
Best Picture, Best Director, Best Actress, and 2 others.
Everything Everywhere All at Once can win, why not The Substance? I feel like they're getting weirder and weirder with their winning choices because they realize that their audience, I mean the general public, is into that weird shit. And I feel like they're slowly becoming aware of that. And perhaps they have like a bit of a mix up in who's voting, maybe.
Or who's on
but
the board.
My hope is that like, yeah, who's on the board. But my hope is that like there's a bit of a turnover in the old guard to allow some weird shit to sneak through and potentially win Best Picture. So I'm holding out hope.
The other 2 awards are best screenplay. And best hair, makeup, and hairstyling.
Okay, makeup absolutely.
Makeup
100%.
But I mean, still, it's kind of like
screenplay is the only thing they're up for.
And then Best Picture, Best Actress, and Best Director.
Yeah.
So I mean, I can see Best Original Screenplay. Like I feel like that's probably the more likely outcome.
It feels like Anora's one that's kind of being like pushed up to be all the Best Picture things.
I mean, Get Out won Best Screenplay too.
That's true.
I feel like that was a movie that wasn't expected to win everything, but everyone was like, "Yeah, but what a unique kind of flick, right?"
I would say the strength of this film is not its script. The strength of this film is its as a whole. I don't think the strength is a script. So I feel like if this were to win, cinematography, absolutely. Makeup, absolutely. I think Best Picture because it is just the right amount of weirdness and out there that like, I feel like they're willing to take more chances on that. But I think as far as Best Script, I feel like it'll go to something a little bit more heady, a little bit more cerebral, a little bit more like dialogue heavy as well, because a lot of this film is very visual. So that's just what I thought.
So best rating original screenplay is Anora, The Brutalist, A Real Pain, which is the Jesse Eisenberg movie, September 5th.
That's another one. I liked it, but I don't think it's Oscar worthy.
What, The Substance?
No, A Real Pain. I liked that one. But it's like winning all these awards, and I'm like, I mean, it's good, but is it Oscar good?
It's good. Is it that good?
When you compare this movie against like The Brutalist and then against like A Real Pain, it's like, what is
great performances, but overall, it's
Yeah, I mean, like even like so, best actress is Cynthia Erivo for Wicked, Carla Sofia Garçon for Amelia Perez, Mickey Madison for Nora, Demi Moore, and Fernando Torres for I'm Still Here.
No, Demi's getting that.
Having
Fernando
seen
Torres, sorry,
none
sorry.
of those
You've
other
seen none of
films,
them?
I can guarantee you Demi Moore deserves it most.
Yeah, I feel like
Having seen none of the other
I mean, we
ones.
won't get into I mean, we won't get into the
Mikey
Amelia
Madsen's
Perez,
great in Honora.
stuff, but like because
she's
it's
killer,
just
but
a bit of a gong show apparently. But you know, I just feel like I don't think there's a lot of films like that are really like. I mean, everyone's talking about The Brutalist, but I like to be honest, I just don't care. And I mean, even Complete Unknown was sort of like I love Timothée Chalamet. I think he's a great actor, and I think I'm interested in whatever he does because I really do feel like he's committed to his craft and stuff. But even that movie, like we were thinking about going to see it on Christmas Day because we were like, yeah, whatever, it'd be like Johnny Cash, but it's the same director, but like it's like just with like Bob Dylan, right? Like
Bob Dylan.
Then we didn't go see it.
Is
We
that
went
my
to
nature
Nosferatu instead, and like it was like you know, I don't know. I'm just kind of like, who cares?
And on
Okay,
that
well-
note, sorry.
That's how we
I
end
had
our
to go
podcast.
into things, and I'm like, well, who won
Yes.
for Best Actress last year? And it was Emma Stone who won for Poor Things, which was another really
Again, a weird pick. A really,
So,
really
like-
weird pick. So
who knows?
I think they're willing to take some weird chances. And
Who are we to say?
I'm voting it. I'm saying Best Picture and Demi Moore. I think they're going to win them both as well.
Wait a
as
second.
makeup.
How do we get the
I
free
agree with
tequila?
that.
How do we get the free tequila?
Well, I'm going to buy it for you if I lose.
Okay.
And if I win,
I'll buy you
you buy
tequila.
me tequila.
What? No way.
Even though I agree with your votes, I will buy you tequila
Wait.
regardless
Wait,
at
wait.
Hooligans.
Yes.
Buddy, hooligans. That's
Chicken
the best place.
wings.
Chicken fingers and shot
Ricky
Burt Reynolds.
Bobby.
So
Barrett,
on
I'll take you to
that note-
hooligans if you're ever in Niagara Falls again. You'll love it. It's great.
Yes, you'll adore it.
I was like, where are we gonna go? Like Kells was like, there's a bar like near me. It's like down the street
within
around the
walking
corner.
distance of my house.
And I was like, I don't know.
it's
Will
a
it be any
straight
good? It's
shot.
like it's called Hooligans. I was like, that sounds
Sold.
right up our alley.
It
So,
was, and
It's my
it
old
was right up our
nickname, so
alley.
might as well.
fantastic. Yeah. Anyway,
You
yeah, let's
literally
close it
can't
down.
get lost. It's stumble distance home. But anyways, yeah, let's shut it down. Final thoughts. First off, thank you guys so much for joining us on this adventure, on this journey, on this tour to substance. Much appreciated. You always wonderful to see your smiling faces and to chat with you guys. So thank you so much for joining us. And on that note, what are your final thoughts? Re the substance.
Who wants to go first?
Bring back
I-
jazzercise.
Yes,
Like
that's good.
if we don't get all these hipsters and these young kids, these Gen Zers out there doing jazzercise, what if we never get jazzercise back?
That's true.
And also, we'll all be miserable and we'll have no cardio, and the world will end because of those two things alone. So
Mhm.
I support
yeah.
that.
I think we need more films that are like a mashup of Barbie, Snow White, Death Becomes Her, Seconds, and
Ooh, I
The
don't-
Reanimator. I don't like throw all those things in a blender.
Yep.
Like I want to
a
see
little
I want to
Barton
see more
Fink
of
in
that.
there. Like, let's do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good call. That's a good call.
Oh,
Oh,
we lost.
Kells,
Qualley.
huh? Oh, what? I gotta
Ow!
run by myself now? What the hell?
House McNows. Where'd she go?
7
Alright,
days.
Sarah,
right
lead
now.
us.
Oh, hi.
Oh,
Oh, there you
And then-
go.
Oh, okay.
We
the
went
hell?
back. I don't know how it happened.
you fugazed us.
She's a fugazi.
I was like, we're done. No. So yeah, I guess that's another good question too. Is what does this movie remind you of? That's a good, a very good circle back to that question that I'm trying to find so I can throw back.
Oh
up.
yeah, we didn't get really
Yeah.
controlling answers on that.
Similar movies.
Similar
think-
movies.
Right, you just nailed that. You slapped like 6 things together there, and that's exactly what
Yeah.
that is.
Dead Alive.
Very good.
It gave me a bit of a Dead Alive vibe. Not as crazy
Ooh.
as Dead Alive, but like just that thing where it just gets crazier and crazier and crazier.
Yeah.
It reminded me of something else too, and I just can't put my finger on it. It wasn't Promising Young Woman, although I thought that the cinematography I thought was top notch. I think that if anything, it should have probably got a nomination for that, to be honest. But Yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to put my finger on something that's like, I heard that like Requiem for a Dream was a little bit of an influence as well.
I can see that.
I was
So
gonna say that as soon as you saw like the two eyes popping in,
Yeah.
you guys,
yeah.
I'm like, I don't get squeamish. I watch some fucking raunchy fucking horror movies and I can sit there and be fine. I rewatched this today and watching those eyeballs, I was like, "Ugh." Like I feel it in my tummy and I don't know why.
heebie-jeebies.
I
Yeah.
didn't like the teeth scene.
Yeah.
Is for me
It
is
looks
like,
like the tool cover of Anima.
Yes.
That's what it looks like. That I always love that visual.
So good. Yeah, it's true.
Also, it's like this movie is also kind of like Freaky Friday meets Society. It's kind of
Society. Yeah,
That's another one.
Society, yeah.
like if
That's
Disney
another
made
one.
Great choices.
Yes.
Great choices.
And you know what? Maybe that's why it's working so well. Like, you know what? If that's what horror needs to do, to like penetrate and like get in people's brains, then do it.
Then do it.
You know? Yeah. I'm okay with it. Especially if they do it this well. Like this was executed so damn well.
Absolutely.
I really like the advert. I will say the teeth scene I didn't like. But also like I don't maybe too much
like you didn't
information,
like a got to you sort of thing, or like
well
you just
that
didn't like it?
I used to have dreams where I was like
All your
my
teeth
teeth
fall
were
out?
falling out. Yeah.
Literally,
like
I have
I-
that weekly.
I still have those dreams. Yeah. I can
What?
feel them.
it's
Yeah.
Crumbling out
I
of my
feel that I
mouth.
have to wake up and like touch my mouth and be like, no, I still have teeth. Okay.
They're
yeah,
still
I
there.
would
Yeah.
so that to
The
me whenever
orthodontist was not in vain. Yeah.
I haven't seen a movie like that in a long time, or sorry, I haven't had a dream like that in a long time, but I used to have them all the time. And it was something about like, it was like work stress, or it was like that someone that you know is being untruthful to you is what I read in like a dream book or something.
Yeah.
Like,
That's what I was telling.
my
Tell me
God.
the dream book's telling.
but like, yeah, I would have these dreams where I would run, like I would be running away from somebody,
You wouldn't
and
be
then
going
I would
anywhere.
I'd look behind me to make sure that they weren't following me, and then I'd turn around, I'd run into like a pole or something, and then my teeth would fall out. Like I'd have those dreams all the time. So
Well, that just happens to me in real life.
Like
Like when I
That's
play
just
sports at
I'm
like a
sorry for your
park,
loss.
I'll like look behind me and then hit a picnic table.
Oh no.
yeah, no, don't do that.
Well, thanks. Thanks for
Danger
that solid
zone.
advice.
Next time you're thinking of doing that,
Just don't do
Don't
it.
do it. Just don't
I
do
remember
it.
I told you not to. But there is a movie. It's, you know what, we're gonna press end stream and I'll be
And
like,
you'd be like,
It's gonna come to you then.
You're gonna comment
We'll
on the
post it.
YouTube, like you're gonna comment on the channel and be like, "It was this movie."
on my own video.
On your own video, comment on your own video.
Yeah, I would be like whatever, Ben or Monstro or whatever.
Yeah.
Ooh. Yo, throw that
Better
into
not
Chat
to.
GPT-4. Make me a
Better
better
just-
For me.
Just get a little bit of you going like this.
Yeah.
Just edit it in after.
Yeah. So no, but I'm trying to think. There is a movie that's like, I think a little bit.
Is it clinical? Like, does it
No,
make you feel like testing
you know
on
what
things?
could be maybe Barbarian. Like that's a movie that kind
okay.
of starts off and
Yeah.
you know things are going to
And then
get
goes
weirder
like
and
a-
weirder, and it gets weirder
Sure.
and weirder.
Oh yeah.
Maybe that
Okay.
flick, I think, but in a different wavelength, right? So,
Mm-hmm.
but hey, that's all the time we got, I think, right? 207.
Yeah, as I say, I think we're good. But if anyone has any other closing thoughts, turning it over to our wonderful guests. Good movie.
Oh,
Thumbs
wait.
up?
There was one more question I saw in the chat here.
She's got freaking fireworks going off. What is this?
I got
Look at
fireworks.
you.
How many
I got
pounds of shrimp?
this.
And the answer is 4 pounds of shrimp.
4 libros de
Cuatro.
shrimp.
What's that?
It is like, in my
4
opinion,
tiger shrimps? Is that what that means?
I don't even know.
Um,
4 singular shrimps.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for joining us on this journey, everyone that has stuck with us through this 2 hours and 8 minutes of conversation. We greatly appreciate you and your time and your energy and your thoughts and your comments. Benner, etc.
Yeah, listen, thanks everyone for tuning in. Of course, please, if you're subscribed to our channel, tell your friends, share this video, give it a like, give it a comment. And we've got lots of more of these coming up. We have our regular Takeover Tuesday series, which is our interview series. Of course, Ali and Makeup Billy and Barrett have all been a part of that. So you can go check out their previous episodes on our YouTube channel. And I just, I cannot tell a lie. Honest Abe over here. I put up the It Follows Back thing, and it still had Kev Martin from Last Video Store said to follow him. So I don't really feel that bad, because you should follow Kevin Martin at Video for Kev. So there's a little shout out to the Last Video Store. Of course, we're putting that movie out on Blu-ray in the next few weeks. Nice. And of course, before we go, Ali, Vic, Barrett, tell us what you have coming up. Anything you want to promote, push, or pump up before we let you go?
Pump up the jam. You've got
Everyone's
to
like,
pump
nah,
it up.
I got stuff to do. I gotta watch Yellow Jackets.
You asked to follow
What do you mean you got? Yeah. Ali, you go first. Ali, you go
Ali,
first.
you go first.
Ali, go first.
It's late, man. It's late.
Be a better host, God. Moderate. I have a film coming out that it's an anthology, and I wrote, directed, and starred in one of the segments. It's called God of Frogs, and I hopefully at some point this year it will be out. Otherwise, I am working on a documentary. It's very niche. It's about exploring the Canadian film and television industry over the last 6 decades through the career of filmmaker Bruce Pittman, who, if you don't know who that is, you're doing yourself a disservice, because he's wonderful. But he directed Prom Night 2 for all the horror fans out there.
Cool.
That's it.
Right on. Awesome. And God of Frogs is like the name of my new metal band too, by the way.
Right?
Yeah. There's a Frogman movie that came out like just before we went to camera, and I was like, guys, it looks like we're copying this movie, because it's like our creature designs are so similar. And I was like,
oh no.
And I like reached out to the director of that. I was like, listen, man, we didn't fucking copy you. Just, I'm getting ahead of this now.
And he was like a British guy. He was like a British guy. He's like, oh, well, our movie's like more like a bit of a toad. You know what I mean?
Bro, look at that.
It's like an homage to Hell Comes to Frogtown. Roddy Piper. Get off of that, man.
Mine's like a little bit more like Lord of the Toads,
right?
not like God of Frogs.
It's all just cross promotion. I'm like, listen, we can get together. We can do some stuff. He was like,
crossover.
I didn't even know this was happening, so it's all good.
What's the Roddy Piper movie?
Roddy Piper, Hell Comes to Frogtown. It is an absolute classic. And it is absolutely. We will watch it sometime once you come to my house, because it's absolutely absurd, and I have a T-shirt of it because it's.
Barrett, what do you got going on? What do you have coming up?
Hell Comes to Frogtown.
Hell Comes to Frogtown is a gem, and watch it with They Live back to back.
Rowdy back to back.
All the rowdy.
I got well, if you haven't seen it, In About Nature, check that out. It's streaming on Shudder. The Hyperborean just came out this year too recently. Obviously you can find that through Black Fawn Distribution. Another film called Cheat came out earlier. You can find that on major streamers, and there's a few. Chamber of Terror, of course. That's also streaming, and it's on Tubi now too, so definitely don't miss that. There's a few things coming out soon that'll be a lot of fun.
That's so exciting.
Right on, man.
Yeah. Rockstar over there.
Yeah. Well, I'm kind of boring, but I just got a couple of masks here being sculpted up. So we got like a creepy marionette coming up, because I was like, that's going to be terrifying. A creepy scarecrow, because seriously, nobody's made. Anybody in the comments, if you know a good scary scarecrow movie,
they need more.
Right?
Well, we put out a movie called Scarecrow. Is that saying?
Right.
Scarecrow movie.
I own that one, like the one from the 80s. It's just mediocre. It's like mediocre. Like, I think Jeepers Creepers has been the best. Anyways. Yeah. I got some projects.
The new one.
But
Dark Harvest was pretty cool.
Dark Harvest was
pretty
good.
That was kind of cool.
Good book too.
Really good book. A little bit of a scarecrow thing going
on. All right. I'm noting that.
Writing it down. Take notes.
Read the book. It's really good.
Little recommendation recommended by Ry Barrett. I got that. There you go. Yeah.
That's all the time we got, guys. I think. Thanks so much for carving out time on your Tuesday. Would love to have you guys back, individually or as a team, whatever you guys want to do. But we're trying to do these, like I was mentioning, like a little bit more frequently, not too frequently, because Kells says there's a lot to organize, which is true. And she does all the work. So, but we do still want to have a kind of revolving list of guests. And of course, anyone in the chat, if there's anyone you'd like to see us bring back, let us know, and we'll do our best to get them back on the show. Other than that, big shout out to our sponsors, Wellington Brewery's Hellas Lager, Coffin Creek Coffee Co., and go to the Coffin Creek Coffee Cafe. Durham,
Coffee.
sorry, Durham.
Yeah, down in Curtis. So Curtis is my hometown, and that's where they are, which I love so much. I used to have a discount code with them where if you put in Unholy Chapel or Unholy 10 or something like that, you get 10% off all your orders. Try it. If it doesn't work, email them, demand it.
Demand it.
And
You tell Brad.
get yourself 10% off because of me.
Love
Yeah.
you.
Awesome. And we will have a a new discount code. We used to have one, but we're gonna have a new one coming
Use
up
both
too.
of
So,
them.
but yeah,
free.
we'll get it happening for sure. And again, follow us on Instagram at Black Fawn Distro. And until next time, Kells, any closing thoughts, buddy?
No.
Go watch Substance. Go.
Go watch the Substance. If
I'm
you
gonna
go watch the
find it
Substance, check out our wonderful guests and,
So I need my outro
and
video. Okay, here we go.
do the write the Oscars.
Remember,
I don't know.
you are one.
You are one.
Never. What's the thing? Never. Always switch or whatever.
Always.
Switch.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.
And that does it for another episode of Black Fawn Distro's Takeover Tuesday. Thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed tonight's episode, please remember to like, follow, share, and subscribe, and help us spread the word about the program and our incredible guests. If you're interested in grabbing some more information about Black Fawn Distribution or want to check out our film titles and merchandise, you can find us online at blackfawndistribution.com. We'd also like to thank our sponsors, Wellington Brewery's Hellas Lager, Deadly Grounds Coffee, Twisted Teas, and of course, Black Fawn Distribution. Just a reminder, you can always catch Black Fawn Distro's Takeover Tuesday live on Facebook, YouTube, and our other social media platforms. Or pick up one of our retransmissions on any of the major streaming platforms. Until next time, I'm your host Benner from Black Fawn Distro, and we'll see you soon.